given by Chaplain Tracy Middleton, All Saints Episcopal School and St. Mark's. If everyone would please silence your cell phone, and if you so choose, please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, in your word, you have given us a vision of a holy city where the nations of the world bring their glory. Behold and visit, we pray, the cities of the earth, including our city of Beaumont. Give your spirit of wisdom, love, and justice to the members of our city council. Guide them in their work today, that they may faithfully fulfill their roles and use their authority to promote the well-being of all. Bless all who live and work here in Beaumont and all those who visit. Aid us in building and renewing the ties of mutual regard that form our civic life. May we strive today to be good neighbors, that at times we may approximate on earth the kind of community that you make perfect in heaven. Amen.
May I have roll call, please?
Mayor West.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Turner.
Present.
Councilmember Durio.
Present.
Councilmember Hilliard.
Present.
Councilmember Williams.
Here.
Councilmember Sherwood.
Present.
And Councilmember Crenshaw.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, today we have two presentations. First, we have City of Beaumont communication update, and that is with Miss Tracy Kinnick.
Good afternoon, everyone. In this week's announcements, for the first time in 43 years, the City Council has voted to hold a general obligation bond election. Voters will go to the polls November 4th to consider 5 propositions totaling $264.1 million. We're going to break those down a bit for you. Considering a home valued at $154,000, it's estimated to cost the average tax citizen about $14.25 per month. So Proposition A will cover infrastructure. You want to switch to that, Tina? Thank you. There we go. Infrastructure improvements, including streets, sidewalks, and drainage, estimated to cost the average citizen $3.14 per month. Proposition B contains construction of a new animal care facility, fire station, police headquarters, a multi-purpose sports and community facility, and a multi-purpose facility at Alice Keith Park. It also includes improvements to the current facilities and public safety upgrades. This proposition is estimated to cost the average citizen $7.94 per month. Proposition C includes upgrades to city parks, including playground equipment and restrooms, the athletic complex on College Street, as well as drainage improvements to the Henry Homburg Golf Course and the Beaumont Botanical Gardens, with an estimated cost of $2 per month for the average homeowner. Proposition D is Riverfront Parks expansion, enhancing the riverfront area with new family-focused amenities. It's estimated at about 67 cents per month for the average homeowner. And Proposition E, extension of Point Parkway from Northwest Parkway to State Highway 105, estimated to cost the average citizen about 48 cents per month. We want to ensure that all the voters are informed about each proposition before heading to the polls, as well as the venue tax that would add a 2% tax to out of the area visitors to our hotels. For more information, you can visit beaumontbonds.com or beaumonttexas.gov/bond. And we also have an online calculator there available for the city's website, Facebook page, so you can easily estimate how much each of these propositions would potentially affect your individual family based on your home value. And on to the next thing now. You're invited to our Back to School Bash along the river as we celebrate the official grand reopening of Beaumont's Riverfront Park. We invite everyone to join us for the ribbon cutting ceremony this Thursday, August 21st at 5:30 p.m. We'll have live music, local food trucks, free sweet tea and ice cream for the first 100 guests for sale after that. And we hope to see everyone this Thursday along the riverfront. With back to school in session, we want to remind everyone to stay alert and slow down. Never use your cell phones in school zones. Remember to stop for school buses with flashing lights and pay attention to students crossing the street. We want to make sure our students are safe. Join us for the nationwide Clear the Shelter event through the end of August. Beaumont Animal Care is over capacity, so adoption fees are just $20, and that includes spay, neuter, microchip, vaccines, flea prevention, and dewormer. So it's a great deal. Go by and give one of these sweet pets a forever home. And finally, get ready to explore, create, and connect with nature at the Nature Explorers Extravaganza. You want to join us Saturday, September 20th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Terrell Park Nature and Visitor Center for a free family-friendly celebration of Southeast Texas wetlands and wildlife. Enjoy free crafts, games, face painting, yoga, food trucks, and hands-on nature fun for the entire family. And that's all for this week's announcements.
Thank you, ma'am. And lastly, we have a presentation highlighting permitting process and public outreach overview, and this is presented by Beau Hansen, City of Beaumont Deputy Building Official.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Thanks for having me. Council, glad to be here with you guys, and Councilman Sherwood. This council has asked us to work on developing a new committee to evaluate our permitting process, and so this presentation is to share some of the existing outreach and engagement around our existing process. Next slide, please. So before getting into our communication and engagement strategy, I want to quickly highlight the construction industry as a whole, specifically here in Southeast Texas, but really most places for that matter. As I'm sure you know, there are three basic considerations here. Federal regulations establish nationwide standards such as FEMA's disaster resilience requirements that apply regardless of location. So no matter how rural you are, these standards are still of the utmost importance. Texas specifically has adopted a minimum standard of codes and regulations that are tailored to our regional area. For instance, statewide, Texas has adopted nearly all of the same industry standards as we have here in Beaumont. So hypothetically, if we adopted nothing, builders would still fall under state law. This is true going back as far as 2001 in the Senate Bill 365, where the state of Texas mandated a minimum standard of construction. And since then, there has been a consistent adoption of codes on a state level for the entire state to follow. There are a lot of people that simply don't realize that. And so just because you're building in a rural area doesn't mean that the code doesn't exist. It just means that there's no one there to hold them accountable. Locally, we follow both state and federal regulation, and then in addition to that, we adopt our own ordinances for two key reasons. First, Southeast Texas standards are different than West Texas standards, as an obvious example. Most notably, our soils are different, the wind speeds are different, and the code ensures quality and resiliency standards are upheld in our unique climate. The second reason is that it benefits, we're able to pass these benefits on to the citizens directly. Not only are we fighting to protect the safety and health of our community, but even beyond the desire for our citizens to protect our citizens from contractors cutting corners, but with insurance rates largely impacted by adopting the newest industry standards, we are able to reduce the price of insurance premiums for Beaumont residents. I believe I've shared this information with you before. So the argument is that codes may save money on insurance, but it's driving up the cost of permitting and pricing people out of construction projects altogether. That's something that we hear regularly. So I want you to have some accurate data when you hear this argument. According to the national average, permit fees amount to 0.5% to 2% of total construction cost. In Beaumont specifically, a new 2,500 square foot home will cost you roughly $375,000 if you build it at $150 a foot. The permit of that house will cost roughly $1,250. This is 0.33% of the total construction cost. Additionally, across multiple sources, the consensus is clear that material costs in construction have increased roughly 40% over the last 5 years alone. So there is a very real strain on the industry. In fact, that strain is one of the reasons I'm no longer in the general contracting world and get to work here. So it's tough being a general contractor, and one I personally empathize with. But permitting is not the reason for this strain. In all of these regulations, federal, state, and local, the biggest pain point is being delayed or penalized in the field once a contractor already has a permit. We recognize that. If I could put my finger on one thing, it would be that pain point right there. And this presentation aims to answer both what we have existing and what we're aiming to do to help come alongside contractors. Next slide, please. So a quick note on committees. I want to bring 5 of them to your attention. First, and most importantly, when it comes to the contractors world, we are a part of their thing. I'm going to get to our thing in a minute, but we believe having a seat at their table and interacting and learning from them in their meetings is the most important thing that we can do as a building codes department. Regularly and often monthly, we are sitting down with the members of the Home Builders Association and the Association of General Contractors to better partner and work with the contractors in our area. Second is our adoption process is completely interactive with the general public and local professionals. Not only do we present and receive feedback at the HBA and AGC, but we also host our own town hall. The last one that we had was at the event center, where we walked through what we were looking at adopting and why we were considering certain amendments in Beaumont. We never make these decisions in a vacuum, and we invite feedback and remain transparent through the entire process. And then third, I want you to know council has appointed a board of appeals, which is the prescribed method within our code to appeal any decision in Beaumont, and really anywhere for that matter. So if someone ever disagrees with any code-related issues in Beaumont and they bring it to you, I want to make sure you know about this board because it is specifically there for them. And then the fourth and fifth are maybe the most important though. The fourth is what we are doing to strengthen consistency across jurisdictional lines. So you have building officials, inspectors, architects and engineers, and even contractors coming together under the Golden Triangle Inspectors Association to improve our area as a whole. It's no secret that there is less and sometimes zero enforcement outside of Beaumont. So the question isn't how can we lower our standards in Beaumont to be like the small rural communities. The question is how can Beaumont and the other larger municipalities serve the surrounding communities with few personnel to make the whole area safer. And that's why the Golden Triangle Inspectors Association exists. So if the fourth is to establish consistency amongst municipalities, then the fifth is to establish consistency for the local contractors. And I'm very excited to share a little bit more about that a little bit later in the presentation, if you'll allow me. Next slide, please. So I already mentioned the town hall, and just to clarify, we do this every 5 years. The next scheduled adoption for us, codes and amendments, will likely be late 2027 or early 2028. So in the meantime, we're not just waiting on that to happen. We host educational events on specific topics that our community wants to dive deeper on. The one we did just a few months ago was on tiny homes, and it was a great interactive workshop with local developers where we could hear from them and work together of how to make these more realistic in Beaumont. We also strive to share helpful information on Facebook and can even send targeted emails if there is an industry-specific change. So as an example, if there are electrical updates on a state level, we can target all electricians in our area that are pulling permits and update them with that information. And then I already mentioned the importance of partnerships with the local contractors and their organizations. But this is our general strategy, but it still doesn't quite cover everything. And I'm going to cover that in the next slide, please. So from here, we really need to consider how different a commercial job is from a residential job. If I were to guess, I would imagine that when you guys get complaints, it's broadly on the permitting department. And this is a visual of what that department consists of. You've got planning and zoning, you've got engineering, you have the fire department, you have water utilities, health, quality control, building codes, and to be honest, even a couple of external entities are sometimes lumped in with Beaumont permitting. And that's a lot to navigate for anybody. So for this reason, I want to make sure you guys know about our pre-development meetings that we host every Thursday for free for contractors. Next slide, please.
And if there's one thing I want citizens to know about, it is our pre-development meeting. Whether you are a longtime contractor or you're a citizen who is opening up that new business that you've been so excited about opening up, come and meet with us. We offer free pre-development meetings every Thursday where all of the departments are in one room together. Fire's there, planning and zoning's there, engineering's there, quality control is there, the health department's there, building codes is there. And that meeting's so important because Again, knowing what is expected of you before your job begins is going to save you both time and money when you hit the ground running. And that's our goal as a department.
So thanks to our communications team, we've worked with them over the last few years to help improve some of our material that we have available on our website. That's one of the videos that we produce with them to let citizens know about our pre-development meetings. Y'all know as well as I do, getting everyone in the room in one room is always the most effective way to do business. And that's why we do this. For contractors to meet with us before they go to permit to help them not only fly through that process, but also the job as a whole. Yes, safety, property protection, and health is our ultimate goal with our citizens, but we are thinking of the contractors too and do everything we can to make time to discuss a project before it begins. Show of hands, how many of you guys hate dealing with an automated phone system when you call a large company? Anybody? So one of the things they get at this meeting is a contact sheet of a real person from all the different departments. Even TxDOT and DD6 are on this sheet. And that one sheet might be the most beneficial thing that we can give to contractors and developers. A real person to talk to when they call and ask for a specific department. Next slide, please. This is a screenshot of what we call our permitting portal. And you have the permit number at the top. You can see it's a new commercial construction project there on the upper left-hand circle. And on the right is basically a step-by-step checklist that every contractor has on any given permitted project where they can keep up with it in real time. And one key note for this slide that I want to make sure you know about, Beaumont often gets the first plan review done in under 2 weeks. That means all departments that I just covered in the previous slide, looking at the plans and our clerks issuing the permit. If you have a magnifying glass, you might see the little comment bubbles next to each task there on the right-hand side. Those bubbles allow us to comment any concerns or notes quickly to the applicant that they have access to 24/7, no matter where they are. If they're on the job, if they're in their office, or if they're on their couch at home, they have access to this portal 24/7 on their mobile device. And they also get an email with all of this information in real time. And one of the reoccurring calls that I get is that the review process is taking too long. So I asked them, have you checked your permit? And 9 times out of 10, they say no. And it turns out we let them know weeks before that we need one small thing, and they never either logged in or checked their email to see what we were asking of them. And so it sits there lying dormant. So if you could help us encourage people to simply log into their portal, that's one of the quickest ways we can get communication out to contractors. Again, this is going to their mobile devices wherever they are in real time. Even for inspections, if an inspection passes or fails, they get automatically updated in their portal if they log in. The other thing is how long we take. And again, I want y'all to have accurate data when you get these calls. I hear regularly that a job in larger municipalities can take up to 6 months or longer just to get a permit. And that's horrible. As a response to this, Texas has adopted a law that states municipalities are required to review plans within 15 days or less. But again, I'm pleased to report that we're typically well under that threshold. Especially with residential projects, we can sometimes turn those permits out in 1 to 2 days. Next slide, please. If you notice, this is the residential permitting department, similar to the commercial permitting department. And significantly less actual departments are involved in this process, making it a much simpler process to navigate. So here's the visual I really want to set up well for you guys. In the state of Texas, anyone can be a general contractor tomorrow if they choose to be. There is no test, no license, no experience required. In Beaumont, we do require a $25,000 contractor's bond, but that essentially is the registration process to build anything you want in Beaumont. You can flip a house. You can build a $1 million custom. You can build a pool if you want to. You can build out an office space in one of our historic downtown Beaumont buildings. You can build a state-of-the-art commercial project. There is 0 experience required. So often what we see with our friends who have some success in the residential world, dealing with 1 to 3 people, they slowly migrate into the commercial world, and that's really where the biggest pain point exists. Because all of a sudden they are being hit with things that they never had to deal with, and it can be a very extremely frustrating process. Things like a traffic impact study, landscaping ordinance, pool inspections, fire alarm systems, grease trap requirements, things they never had to deal with in the residential world. You will not meet someone more pro-entrepreneur than myself. However, I regularly watch all of these items get learned on the fly in real time after a contractor has already committed to the job and got the permit. This is the biggest pain point I can bring before you today. So the question is, what are we doing about it? I'm glad you asked. Next slide, please. We recognize that we have got to do a better job of communicating upstream to solve downstream problems. So, in partnership with the Golden Triangle Inspectors Association, the Association of General Contractors, and the Home Builders Association, we are already workshopping what a contractor registration could look like. And to be clear, we are not rolling this out tomorrow. But we are seeking input from all the necessary stakeholders, including the contractors themselves, to create something that helps alleviate this pain point that I just brought up. And oh, by the way, as we think through this on a regional, more Southeast Texas level, not just a Beaumont thing, this helps us come alongside our small neighboring municipalities who are often falling victim to the fly-by-night contractors. We not only see it as our responsibility to help them any way we can, but also see this as a great mechanism to do so. So what does it look like practically? It would be an annual touch with anyone acting as a general contractor, where we give them all the answers they need to navigate what many call red tape. This is not a test for competency. It's an answer sheet before they begin the test. That's the best way I can describe it. As an example, this can be achieved as a workshop in a monthly Home Builders Association meeting, so they don't have to attend another class. They're already at those meetings. Or this can be achieved in our already existing pre-development meeting, meaning if you are primarily a residential contractor, you have to attend a pre-development meeting on a commercial project before you begin, for their benefit. Then lastly, we would have a weekly meeting established for anyone who may have missed the first two options and needs to register for a different type of job quickly or on the fly. Maybe that's a Houston contractor coming in and they haven't been a part of those existing meetings, or those predetermined meetings. We've workshopped this idea with several organizations and have received zero negative feedback from the organizations we've spoken with. In fact, since first bringing it up, I've had many of our local GCs follow up with me eager to implement this. This is something that could benefit everyone, and we should have a more comprehensive plan to present in the next few months. Next slide, please. So as I wrap up, I want to note that we are regularly working with our inspector team to raise the bar through training. It's my belief that when it comes to development, there is not a more forward-facing person than our inspector team. They are the ones who are consistently walking alongside developers and contractors to build a better Beaumont. I preach this and they believe this. It's something we talk about regularly. People do not care how much we know until they know how much we care. And so we listen, we walk alongside them, but at the end of the day, we're there to protect our citizens by ensuring safety in all of the built environment. I'm extremely proud of the team. Through the International Code Council, our staff makes up the most credentialed team in Southeast Texas. There are 9 of us holding a total of 32 certificates in building safety. It's something we take very seriously and train on regularly. Certifications are great, but I think you would agree that consistency is even better. And so one of the things we've implemented in the last year is rotating inspectors across town to ensure that if there are inconsistencies in Beaumont, that they're made known and addressed immediately. There used to be an inspector for the north and an inspector for the south, but now they rotate periodically, and we've gotten better because of it. Next slide, please. And the last thing I want to share with you is how to submit feedback or appeal one of the decisions in the Building Code Department. I've already mentioned the Board of Appeals, but again, please make sure to let anyone know who calls that this is their right by law. We are a democratic republic, even in the Building Code. Next, we have an anonymous feedback form right next to the permitting portal on our website. If anyone ever needs to submit something and they want to stay anonymous through the process. And then last, help us encourage folks to join the Golden Triangle Inspectors Association. This is a great place to get to know inspectors from all over the area and even get involved in shaping future regulation. It's organizations like this that can formally take things up the chain and continue to improve industry standards for all of us. We need more voices in that process. So again, please encourage folks to get involved in that process. We want to hear from them. We agree that our codes, our amendments, and even our permitting process should be reviewed regularly. And we hope this presentation helps you point people in the right direction to get involved in that very process. Thanks for your time today. Demi, did you want to add anything to that?
I did. Thank you, Beau. I want to add a special thank you to Councilman Hilliard for highlighting the need for us to really dive into our permitting process and our public outreach. I want you to know that we are making active amendments to our Chapter 24, which is our building codes. We're hopeful to bring that to you guys and workshop it within the month. Also, I wanted to know if it's okay with this council, rather than developing a committee, if we could host quarterly town hall meetings where we invite every developer that is within our permitting database, and also do social media blasts to promote the meetings that we're going to have. Mainly, I want us to be able to highlight certain industry trends, or also at the end of it, be able to set up where developers can go to the permitting department as highlighted on there, which will have engineering, planning and zoning, building codes, all of the entities, aside from, hopefully we'll invite DD6 and TxDOT if they'd like to attend. But if they don't, that's okay too. We always have their contact. But be able to have developers go and talk to us directly to talk about either their projects, any developments they want to do, also like any processes that we have, or maybe there's pain points that they're seeing in the field that we can address immediately. We also can be contacted at any point in time to review any of these processes. So that's just something that I wanted to put out there if you guys are okay with it. But of course, we will carry out the council's wish on that. And thank you, Beau, again. That was a great presentation.
Thank you both. That was very good. Councilman Hilliard?
Yeah, I want to commend you. Thank you for that. And the reason that I'm calling for a committee is to give you a fresh set of eyes. And, you know, for this committee to meet once a month, and it's electricians, it's plumbers, it's developers, it's contractors, things that they see that maybe you don't see, or maybe, you know, in a lot of cases, you've got more work than you have people to do it, which can bog you down. And so having a committee of people that actually do this, we can show that we're putting the open sign back on. And, you know, I want to commend you for everything that you're doing and the steps that you're taking. But I think the next step would be to get these professionals in here together to say, hey, we know a better way, we know a different way, or maybe there's something that you didn't see or something that you didn't look at. And, you know, and tell them that we're an open city and that we're willing to work with anybody, not just on a monthly or yearly basis, but I mean, a quarterly or yearly basis, but on a monthly basis. These men and women get together and they say, hey, this is how we can spur development in our city and get through the red tape that is building codes. And so, you know, I firmly believe, and I speak just for myself, but that we should have a committee of these individuals to help steer y'all. I think you've got everything else in place, but I think a committee of people that do the work will help tremendously. And I've gotten tremendous feedback on this, and the contractors are excited and they want to be a part of this. You know, let's never lose our ability to learn, no matter where it comes from.
Thank you, Councilman Hilliard. Councilman Turner?
Actually, I support Councilman Hilliard with just letting citizens weigh in on our process. I think often in the city of Beaumont, and just being professional, period, when you're dealing with people and we're the in-between when they're operating open a business, it's important that we have that open dialogue where it can be some feedback. It's just for maybe advice or things they see in another city, not necessarily dictate to y'all or tell y'all what to do. One thing that I realized that a lot of contractors call me about is, I know that you said rotating the inspectors. What's happening is when one inspector comes out and gives feedback, another inspector comes out and sees something completely different. So now this builder or this owner has the mindset of, this is all I have to do to move forward. And when something's added, now it kind of either will extend the timeline or maybe more complicate the process. So that's something I have heard consistently from developers. Another thing that's an issue is inspections. I'm being told from developers sometimes they have to stay from like 8 to 5. And for a business owner or a parent, it's kind of tough to have to stay still in that time black and kind of wait for someone to come. What I've seen in other cities, I've done projects in other cities where you have a time block, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, 1 to 3. If we can kind of be that much more flexible for our builders, I think you can kind of see a lot of those complaints about how the complexity in Beaumont kind of slow down. Excuse my voice, I'm a little hoarse, but this is just something I've talked to a lot of developers about, and it's consistent. They do want to give some feedback and some flexibility within how we do our business in Beaumont.
If I could.
Yes.
Thank you for bringing that up. That's a great one that I would love y'all to help us communicate on. We did look into how we could, currently we offer next day inspections. So if you need an inspection tomorrow, we can provide that for you. We looked into what it would look like to do scheduled inspections for a specific time, and it would just backlog our inspectors too much. And so we determined that the best course of action was to continue with next day inspections. But what we do offer citizens, and we want to make sure that they know about, is if they call the morning of or even the afternoon before and talk to those inspectors, they can give them a pretty close time of when they'll be there, because that's when they're planning their day and really trying to iron it all out. So help us encourage those contractors to give us a call, and we'll tell them a pretty close time.
Councilman Turner?
So is it documented? Let's just say you go out and they have this plumbing issue here. Is it something documented that they can see? So when they do get their plumber to come back out and address this, that they know specifically this is the only thing we have to address, or inspectors coming back out to look for more things? Because that's something I kind of been getting consistently from citizens.
Yes, sir. Occasionally that does happen, unfortunately, and that's something that ongoing training, and we're consistently talking about situations like that so it doesn't happen, so that we make a solid, thorough inspection on the first pass. But occasionally we do see a life safety situation that we need to address when we go back a second time. Doesn't happen all the time, but you're right, it does happen, and it's something we're actively working on. So.
Thank you, Councilman.
Real quick, I do want to highlight, we're about to pull back up the portal. You see where those bubbles are? Next to, it's in that workflow, which is on the right-hand side where it says PZ review, engineering review, fire, and so on. Down there, further on there, once the permit has been issued, there is also inspection tabs where the contractor or the GC that's listed on the permit can go in and he can read those comments directly. Also, you can always call our girls, 409-880-3100. They're always there Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. But if it's any time outside of those parameters, you can log in, and our inspectors do in real time put notes into the portal.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councilman Turner?
Not a question, just, one thing that happens often is kind of staff needs clarity on what direction to go in. Mr. Williams, do you guys have clarity based upon feedback, or you need to hear from everybody on the council?
Yeah, we're going to need more definitive action from the council, or direction from the council. You can either do it through a couple of ways, but we can place it as an agenda item where council can formally vote on it and decide whether it's something you want to do or not.
I think that'd be appropriate. Yes.
I agree.
All right. So with that, for those that were here for, for the presentation, if you'd like to leave, now's the time to do so, and certainly appreciate you coming. We're going to move into public comments, and now's the time that for any citizen who wishes to speak, you may make public comments on the consent agenda, the regular agenda, items 1 through 10 and 12, or any other topic. Item 11 has been already heard in the public hearing, therefore citizens can't speak on this today. The city clerk will call your name when it's your time to speak. When you approach the podium, please say your address, city, and state. You will have 3 minutes for public comments. The green light will come on when you walk up and approach the podium, and the red light will come on when your time is up. I'd like to remind everybody that while you're at the podium, members of the council cannot respond to you. Your comments or questions regarding any of the items, we'll address them in posted agenda items. And if you have any other questions, again, staff will meet with you after you've spoke. Ms. Broussard?
Seth Wells, 6890 Glen Willow Drive, Beaumont, Texas.
Good afternoon, council, staff. It's good to see you. My name is Seth Wells. I live at 6890 Glen Willow Drive. I also work off South 11th Street between Stagg and Fannin. And I promised myself that I wouldn't become a comment section Carl. So that's why I'm coming here to talk to you today. Just remind some people about how important it is that the upcoming bonds, especially the sidewalks and some different things going around the city. I'm a disability advocate. I'm also a veteran with disabilities. You may not be able to see them. But one of the reasons why we have such an issue with people with pedestrian issues or injuries to our pedestrians is we don't know how to get people off the street, right? They're walking in the street. We see them pushing strollers. We see them taking rascal scooters down the driveway, things like that. That's something that we can address. And one thing I want to make sure that people remember is that, yes, these improvements will help persons with disabilities or significant mobility issues, seniors, but it's best for everybody, right, is the idea of universal design. So when we think about that, we're not having to go back and redo bridges, right, even though I know that might not be a design flaw, but like the bridge at Sally Curtis. Not only are we dealing with that, and there's no handrails, by the way, still yet, we're asking the kids to be walked across that bridge now outside of school, after school. They can't be walked up and their parents can't pick them up. What you have to think about with these construction projects is also that the sidewalks leading up to that bridge are now damaged, right? So you've got kids on scooters, on bikes, screaming through there on that corner, and there's nothing to stop them from going over the side right now. And I know you were working on it, and I know we're trying to make things better, but a plastic netting over the top of this barrier is not enough. I won't let my son go across it. One thing I wanted to ask the council, and I can certainly reach out to my councilman directly in the future, but what is the timeline for y'all to let us know about street closures? What is the regulation for that for you? Because 3 o'clock, the business day before, you're going to shut down two of the 4 lanes of one of the most major thoroughfares in the city is pretty frustrating. I don't know if the business owners were contacted about that. That road is already 2 lanes from 2:30 to 4 o'clock every school day with the pickups on the side. I'm just trying to figure out how, what is the process for that so we can be better known about that. And I appreciate the increased communication between our city and large government entities, but I would really like to see increased communication between you and your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Drew, and I'm not really sure what the last name is. I can't make it out. 4695 Chadwick, Beaumont, Texas. What's the last name? Davidson. Thank you.
I'm an engineer. Handwriting's not my forte. I apologize. I didn't intend to speak today, but the presentation from code enforcement I thought was excellent. And I will say, as someone who's recently built a business in Beaumont, I'm the owner of Freedom Firearms and Defense. Getting answers from the code folks, help, return calls, that actually was not a problem. I will say that I do think we're leaving out one of the most important stakeholders in these discussions. Contractors love codes because it's extra work, right? Who does not like codes is the business owner who's on the hook for building these facilities. So I can still line out right at $500,000 of additional funds that I had to outlay to build in Beaumont that my contractor and all of the subcontractors told me I would not be paying to build right outside of Beaumont. So I do think it's important, understand we want to be quote unquote first class, but part of that is also ensuring, I think it's important that our codes don't go beyond the federal and Texas codes unless it is absolutely essential for our area and has a really good reason to be there. And I think that leaving the business owner, the entrepreneur, the person who's actually funding the project out of those discussions really leaves us at a disadvantage. As someone I would like to build another business in Beaumont right now, a couple of the councilmen up here are aware of that. but I'm actually nervous to do so because I'm nervous that whatever I get quoted, at the end, the contractor comes back to me and says, oh, well, we missed these things in code. We have to add these in, and they're not things I would plan for. I'd also like to echo Councilman Turner's comments. I know my partner's wife just put a building in, and she had the issue with scheduling. Hey, you need to be there between 8 and 5. And they showed up at 4:45. So yes, that is still an issue, and that was just 2 weeks ago. But yes, so that's just something I would like to make sure we're including the folks who are actually outlaying that capital in those discussions, because I do think that that's still a bit of an opportunity for the city of Beaumont, where you could make Beaumont more competitive for entrepreneurs, which is just going to bring in more tax dollars. So I just don't want to leave that stakeholder out. But I appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you, sir.
Addie Allen, 9695 Gross, Beaumont, Texas.
Good afternoon, City Manager, the Mayor and Council and administrative staff. I'm standing here because there was a time, maybe last year, where I think Councilman AJ asked for maybe an ordinance on change orders, whether they're to give money back or to receive money or whatever. I see today there are 3. I think even my councilman Joey also asked that question. So I don't know if staff is working on that or not, but I did see an ordinance that's being proposed today, and I'm wondering where that is. The other things is, and like some of my friends are saying, you get up there and say sirens. Well, I'm saying sirens today. I don't know at this point that we're going into a budget year, if that's being thought of, if there's a grant. But even with Kerrville, and God bless those souls that perished, that's something that I don't know. I think that somebody need to be talking about from council, because that's serious. And I've been reading articles on it. They had gauges for the water, but they had no public alerts. And that's something that really should be paramount. The other thing is, thank you for the sidewalks. And I know Councilman Durio is happy about that too on Thanet. However, I go to church in that area, and there's a crack from the street to the nice sidewalk. So I don't know if that's on the way or not, but we're getting shook up going into the parking lot. I appreciate each one of your services, and I'm not going to run out of time today. Have a good day.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's all I have, Mayor.
All right. Thank you for the public comments. Now we're going to move into the consent agenda. Is there a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda?
Motion we approve. Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Councilman Turner?
Yes, on item K, the grant funding for economic development and some other things. Could this possibly be utilized to audit industrial agreements? My reason for asking that is, I've asked this in the past, these industrial agreements, we give these tax abatements and they utilize terms like local jobs, but who's actually auditing that and giving a report back to the city so we can actually communicate that to the citizens? Because we don't give these tax abatements to citizens. I just want to be able to explain what local is and how many jobs are local, and I'm just going to have a hard time moving forward supporting industrial agreements if it's not spelled out what Beaumont's getting in return.
Yeah, industrial agreements are probably better suited to be analyzed through the Economic Development Office. They deal with more project-oriented. This is the economic mobility that deals with individuals, with people in your town that are in certain situations in life, and you want to be able to train them, help them realize how they can become more economically viable or suitable in their lifestyles. So it's a little bit different. This is a great grant. It's given to us through ICMA, the International City Managers Association, from the Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, in conjunction with NFBPA, the National Forum of Black Public Administrators. So we are one of 16 cities in the country to receive these dollars. Is to provide support for executive staff person in the executive office to assist with this effort. And they'll provide pay for 2.5 years for a position, for this position for there, and also travel and other support and documentation, and even an intern they'll pay for. So it's a total of $416,000 over 2.5 years. We're looking at filling it internally within the department, which will help defray existing salaries. So this is a good deal from the International City Managers Association, which I'm not going to mention. I just came off their board, but they chose Beaumont for one of these.
Wow, and I really appreciate y'all going after grant money. I was just trying to see what all it can be utilized for. And Kenneth, you always do a good job, trying to find additional streams of revenue. And my second question was item number M. When we talk about the pension, a lot of people are kind of confused how all this works. Does it, we just did the contract and now we're doing the pension. I know a few years back, we took some funding and did some investing in the pension. Can somebody kind of speak to how this works for people in the community that may not understand?
Yeah, we can double team this one, the city attorney and I. This is a pension for Local 399 for the fire department. They have a separate pension than the other city employees who are in a pension of TMRS, Texas Municipal Retirement System. In the past, this was addressed through the contract with the fire department contract. The fire Local 399 requested that not be a part of the contract discussions anymore, to be a separate agreement. So we're working to make the pension whole. It had been under some stress, to be frank. And so these actions will make the pension whole. We're looking at putting, at the end of this fiscal year, putting $398,000, if I get the number wrong. 325,000 payment into the pension from vacant positions that are not in the fire department. We're taking money out of those vacant positions, putting it directly in there. We're also proposing a 2% increase in what the city contributes every year. Right now, the city contributes 20%. With this new budget, we're putting 2% more about, which would be 22% contribution by the city of Beaumont into the pension. And at the end of the 26th fiscal year, we will look at seeing if we have those vacant positions, putting another $328,000 into that pension. And then at the beginning of next year, if it's still not solvent, we're proposing to put an additional 1% into that pension. And we submitted this plan to the whatever board?
TRB.
TRB board.
Pension Review Board.
Pension Review, and they feel good about it, acceptable about it. Local 399 feels good about it, and they agree to it. And we're thinking this will solve their pension issues for some time to come.
So one correction, Local 399 wasn't a part of this agreement at all. This agreement was between.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, this agreement is between, specifically between the City of Beaumont and the Pension Board. So Beaumont Professional Retirement, Beaumont Retirement or Fireman's Relief Fund is the entity that manages Local 399's pension. So it's a separate entity made up of 3 members of the fire department, 3 members of the community at large, and 2 individuals from the city, one appointed by the mayor and then the city's acting, or the city CFO. So that's who comprises that board. This agreement was necessitated by the Pension Review Board, saying that the city and the pension board had not met their funding obligation. So there's a law that says that the pension has to be funded. At the time, it was under 30 years, and the city was at infinity. We're currently at 33 years. The proposed agreement over time would take the city somewhere between 26 and 27 years. The goal is to get down to under 25 years, and then under 20. Again, the necessity of the agreement is because the pension is no longer a part of the contract. We do need to have like some accountability on both sides. There's some structures that are outlined in the agreement that require some things on the city, but there's also some things that the pension is required to do and to maintain. For example, they can't increase or decrease their benefits. They can't change their tiered system. Those are things that we have to come collectively together to make sure that it's not going to impact the fundability of the plan. So it does kind of lock in some benefits for our employees and just kind of, add some additional accountability for all parties.
All right, my follow-up question is, I know we're contributing, it's being proposed to be at 22%, and we're gonna do additional $325,000. What are we required to contribute? I know it's at 22, but what are we required to contribute?
By law, you're only required to contribute 12%. However, you are required to ensure that the fund is soluble, so it has to be able to fund itself. So at 12%, and I want to say it was probably not the current contract that we ended, but the contract before that, it was noted that we were not hitting our agreement, and at the time, I believe the parties were equally contributing about 16 or 14%, and so during that contract term, we opened up the contract to increase each year, each percentage. During that time, the pension also created a two-tier system. At the time, you vested in 20 years. I believe now employees hired after that contract vest in 25 years and they receive a different tier of benefits. The goal and the hope is that we could eliminate that second tier of benefits and allow employees to all vest at the 25 or 20-year period with equal benefits across the board.
Is this funding coming out of our general fund?
So, and the manager can jump in, we are required when you have y'all established by ordinance a certain number of employees in each level, grade 1, grade 2, how many employees you have, you're required to maintain enough funding to fill those vacant positions. So this is money that's already available. It's just not going to be a salary savings. We're going to allocate that fund directly to those vacant positions to move. So it's existing money that we're going to allocate to that fund.
And my last question is, I know by state law, we only required to do 12%, and we're at 22% because of some things.
You'll be at 22% October 1.
Well, so we'll eventually be there because of some things that took place in the past with how we managed it, what barriers are put in place.
So you as a council don't manage it.
I know we don't, but the committee.
The pension board manages it.
Yeah, the board. The pension board committee, what barriers are put in place to make sure we don't keep trending in this direction, because this is a lot of additional funding that we're spending.
So again, the agreement does outline some plans on the place that they can't, again, increase or decrease their current benefits. They can't establish a different tier. They can't reduce their contribution rate. Currently, they're at 18% as well, so they can't reduce their contribution rate at all. So it does lock both parties into some accountability to maintain that funding balance. And essentially, the Texas Review Board doesn't allow you to make changes that are going to be harmful to your plan.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate on both sides, not just the city, but we're kind of getting in this position where it's trending up, it's not actually trending down.
It actually is. So like I said, we were at Affinity, and through some changes that we made, adding additional positions, wage increases, those kind of things, it took us down to 33 years. With the adjustments that we're prepared to make, it'll take you down between 26 and 27 years. Those are conservative numbers. It could actually be less. And then as, again, taking into consideration their current contract, increases in wages, the addition of new employees, all those things, you can easily get under 25, 20 years within a short span.
Yeah, I'm looking at it from the aspect, it was at 12% and now we're at 22%. That's what I'm speaking to.
Well, I think that's average. I don't know that there's any city in the state contributing just 12, right? When we did our communication, I think the mayor participated on that call. They actually said Beaumont was low. They were like, and we were at 18%. We were like, we thought we were doing great. And we were low. I think the average contribution rate is somewhere between 22 and 25%. Some of the funds that are in dire need, I think Dallas is at 28, almost 30%. So there are some cities that have like way bigger issues than the city of Beaumont. We're actually in the middle, so we're at a good spot. So 22%, even 23% is not above the average. It is still considered on the low end in terms of contribution. If you look at it a different way, for civilian employees, I believe the city contributes about 18, almost 20% per employee. Duncan can correct me on my numbers, but that seems about right for, they don't, firefighters don't receive Social Security. So that kind of balances out those numbers. So if you think about it, apples, not that you can compare, it's almost on par with what you would contribute to a civilian employee.
Understandable. Just people ask, and I just wanted to be explained on the record so it's transparent. They kind of can see what's going on.
Understood?
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Williams?
Just so I understand, so we have to fund it at a certain level to keep it afloat. Do vacant, open positions impact this if we filled vacant positions?
So yeah, so the agreement basically says that we fill the vacancy. So if there are no vacancies, there's no money that we need to contribute, right? So we're only contributing the vacant positions to make sure essentially that fund is whole. So it's as if those individuals were contributing to the plan or on their behalf. So if those positions are filled right now, I believe we have the calculation that we have right now is at 25. Council added, I believe, 12 positions last April. There were some retirements and some things moved around. So that kind of creates the additional 21 positions that came from that. So if there's none, let's just say next year we have no vacancies, then we contribute $0 in the terms of vacancy contributions, all right? But we would still contribute that 22%.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. So no other discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, would you take us into item number 1, please?
Yes, Mayor. Council to consider resolution receiving the proposed fiscal year 2026 budget and scheduling a public hearing. And if I may, I'll step down to the podium.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. This is one of the few times through the year I get to stand down here and speak to council and stand before you and have a discussion. Today, I'm going to present the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget or financial plan to you as a council. We've been working since probably March, April on this document, and today you've received a draft of the proposed budget. Next slide. Tina, we're gonna be on this, okay? I know her. This presentation will give you an overview of what's in it and talk about what's there too. We're going to touch on at the beginning about some things about the accomplishments, bit of a budget overview and what's included in it. Touch on lightly on some of your priorities. We had our very first budget workshop. You listed your priorities for this fiscal year. And so this budget is comprised of those priorities and funding. We're going to talk about the dollars, revenues and expenditures. That's always a conversation. We're going to do some comparisons from 25 to 26 and doing that. And of course, the general fund, but not only the general fund, we're going to talk about the water and wastewater fund and the solid waste fund, and then talk about the community investment plan because you'll be accepting that document today too. Next slide. Budget calendar. On yesterday, a copy of this document was submitted to the city clerk's office, which is required by law. So we submitted that to city clerk Tina. It's also a copy was posted on our website. So it's available to the public at this point already. Today I'm doing the presentation of the budget to you as required. You're going to set a date for a hearing, which will probably be September 16th, which is the same day you'll be looking at adopting the budget. So today you'll receive a draft, but you have almost a full month before you actually adopt the budget. So there's still a work in progress. Make sure that you know that it's still a work in progress. Today you will set a proposed tax rate. You have to do a proposed tax rate. You can set a proposed tax rate. Just remember that whatever rate you set, you can lower it, but you won't be able to raise it on the 16th. So that's also state law. So whatever you set it at today, make sure it's high enough to cover the expenses that you're going to anticipate or any changes that are going to happen for the next month. Again, this is not an adoption of the budget. This is just proposed. We're still in the draft process, and we can make changes up until the 16th on what we're going to do there. But on that date, you will adopt the budget. You will adopt a tax rate, et cetera. I mentioned it can be lowered, but not raised. Next slide. A few highlights, some things that we did accomplish in 2025. We did a strategic plan in 2023, which laid out a lot of things for a 15-year period with the city of Beaumont, what we're going to do. And we are way ahead of schedule on that strategic plan. And while we've done that, we have some more things in this budget, and there are going to be things in other budgets to cover that too. So we're way ahead of a plan. One thing I really want to highlight in this budget, of course, we want to be fiscally responsible, but this budget as presently put together and been proposed does not call for a tax increase. It's funded on the existing tax rate, 0.655, whatever that number is. It's a lot of decimals out there. But there's no proposed tax rate increase. That's my goal, is to be fiscally responsible, make sure we're efficient, productive in what we do there. But council has the ability to raise that. That's what we would talk about a little bit more. So that's good news. That's always good news. The city of Beaumont has a good history over the last 10 years of not raising those tax rate. This proposed budget does not call for an increase in residential water rates. We listened to you as a council when you had those concerns about residential rates. So this has zero increase for residential water rates for residential homes with a 5/8-inch water line or less. It does call for an adjustment for commercial rates of about 8% for this year, but the impact is, you'll see the impact as we look at the numbers. Other things, some things we achieved this year. We received the state planning award, which is a great feat for us for our which plan? Parks plan. For our Parks Master Plan, and we received the GLO grant award for our comprehensive plan, which means we got funding, $300,000 or more for our plan for a comprehensive plan, which will allow us to set up zoning uses throughout a city so you won't have to sit here and work through that every week. We'll have a book that identifies what that's planned to be. When you look at an area, when you look at a street, when you look at a major drive, when you look at it, Washington Street, whatever it may be, we'll have a document to support that. The Real-Time Crime Center, that's been a success for us for sure. We're doing some things in this budget to expand upon that. Of course, we're doing two things with an election in November. One is the venue tax. If it passes it, we'll be able to use hot tax toward a possible convention center project, and also just the bonds itself. And we have a lot of projects in there. Now, a lot of those bond projects are included in our CIP because it has to be accounted for in that document. So and it's going to be identified as funding for a bond project. So you have it there. And another good news, we talked about the venue tax, but in December 12, 2023, we created the TIRZ. And we looked at those numbers, and we were expecting to find maybe we'd gather $300,000 or $400,000. And to our surprise, that TIRZ in 1 year accumulated $1,715,000. That's great, if we can put things together like the TIRZ, the venue tax, House Bill 5012, we'll be able to afford a lot of things. So that generated much more money than we anticipated. And that's without the cooperation so far of the county, Jefferson County, or DD6. That's strictly money that was that came through the city of Beaumont. Next slide. A few council priorities, public safety. This budget is heavy on public safety. It's heavy on police, it's heavy on fire. We're looking at crime reduction initiatives and putting dollars there. Of course, infrastructure is big. We've heard our citizens about sewer issues. We've heard our citizens about water issues. So we continue to put large amounts of dollars into those projects to improve our infrastructure. Also our streets, et cetera. So we're doing it that. Youth programs, for sure. A lot of interest in youth and what they're doing. We just want to improve our overall quality of life. You know, quality of life is not something you always can put your hands on, but it's something you can certainly feel when it's there, when it's right, when things are good in your community and what's going on. And of course, we want to always control cost containment, be fiscally responsible, and this budget does that. It does that through lack of a tax increase. It does that through not raising residential water rates and et cetera. Next slide. Some couple of overviews of this document. We have a contract with our police department. 4-year contract existing. This is the last year. It calls for a 4% contractual pay increase. So that's placed in this budget. And I will say that we've already started preliminary discussions, thank you, for negotiations for the next contract. We've received a letter from the police department union, and we are going back and forth. So the existing contract will last until October 1 of next year. So our goal is to be way ahead of that. So they're working with us, and we're working with them on that. We just did the 7% for the fire department just this August. And we're going to do another, this budget calls for another 4% October 1. So we're looking at a 11% pay increase for the fire department in less than a 2-month period. So that's accounted for in this budget. Now, while we're excited about public safety and they're important, our civilian employees are just as important. We can't forget the sacrifices they make and what they do. You know, they go in freezing water in wintertime, et cetera. So we're proposing 3% across the board civilian cost of living raise for all the civilian employees. Basically, that's everybody who's not civil service, civilian. We're also proposing implementation of the 3rd year of our compensation plan. We did a compensation plan 3 years ago, and thank you, Councilmember Turner. When I got here, he was really keen on getting salary surveys and getting things paid for our city employees. At that time, we had many employees who were less than $10 an hour. His first goal and our goal was to get everybody to $15 an hour, which we achieved that goal, which was surprising for a city this size. And now, this 3rd year of this compensation, we've taken all those positions that were not impacted in prior year's budget to this year. The entire category of employees will be increased for the phase year 3. We couldn't do all of it at this year. We'll probably have to split some for next year, but we're getting there. The city's goal is to make sure all of our employees are at the minimum level of that salary survey. That was a minimum level, excuse me, midpoint and a high point. Our first goal is get everybody to the minimum level. Then the goal is to get everybody to the midpoint level. And so we are well on our way. Segregation of recurring expenses. We got a new definition for the budget this year. So we have to make sure that our expenditures, revenues don't exceed our recurring expenses plus what's in reserve fund balance. Thank you. And then this supports infrastructure and facilities I talked about. Next slide. The tax rate. I mentioned that this budget is proposed at the existing tax rate of 0.659663, which is exactly what it was for this year. Beaumont over the last 8 years has been pretty consistent in tax rates and been a slow decline. Tax rate split into two things, operations and maintenance, and INS, which is debt service. General fund appears as operations, and maintenance. So we have 0.4786 cents this year proposed for operations. That's actually a penny less than we had last year because another penny goes toward debt service. But we feel like we can operate within those parameters. Next slide. Assessed values of our city, City of Beaumont continues to increase on assessed values. This year, we're looking at about a $330 million increase in assessed values with the city. It's over the $11 billion mark of assessed dollars in the city of Beaumont. It's been a pretty steep increase since 2022. What now is kind of leveled off. It's been around that 300,000 for the last 3 years or so. So that's good news for the city of Beaumont. Next slide. This is debt. This is a snapshot of your debt picture for the next 20 years and what you owe in debt. This budget 2026 proposed will be about a $20 million debt payment out of your property tax revenues. The total amount of debt that you have on the books for the next 20 years at this point is about $250 million. And you can see as time goes along, that amount decreases. Debt payment, there are typically 2 payments during the year. One at the beginning of the year where we pay interest, and then later in the year where we pay the principal. The interest is usually paid earlier because we receive most of our revenues late in the year. Property taxes are not due till the end of January, and so want to make sure we have those dollars to pay. Next slide. Okay, next 25 versus 26. Next slide. Dina. Okay. General fund revenues. Property taxes, this too is a snapshot of what those numbers look like. We're looking at increased numbers for property taxes. It's been about a $3.5 million increase since 2024, what you've received in dollars on property taxes. And sales taxes, we're projected about a 2% increase this year, from 2025 to 2026. We feel good about that number. Much rather be on the conservative side and projecting that, although the amount from the budgeted, what was budgeted at the beginning of 2025 is about 5.5% increase, but we're only budgeting for a 2% increase. So we're leaving a lot of wiggle room in there to work. Industrial payments, believe it or not, that's your third largest source of revenue in the general fund. Councilmember Turner mentions RDA agreements. This is basically the money you receive from those, about $20 million a year for those. And we're looking at a total amount of revenue for about $169 million in general fund. Next slide. This is a pie chart. Gives you an idea of your revenue sources for your general fund. And there's good news in this slide here. Your 2 largest sources of revenues are sales and use taxes and property taxes, and they're almost equal. Property and use is 33%, and property taxes 32%. And what's good about that, it recession-proofs your city. If there's a real downturn in the economy and sales tax suffers, you can still rely on property tax to help keep you afloat. There'll be some cutbacks for sure, but it won't be as severe if not. And likewise, if property taxes suffer through assessments going down, your sales tax can help keep you afloat. So it's good like that in a city, 32%. Some cities are 60-20. And when the economy tanks, it really puts them in a really bad situation. So Beaumont's fortunate to have a balanced source of revenue for its general fund like that. Again, the industrial payments are 12%, and utility in lieu of is 8%. Next slide. And this is just a graph kind of showing the history of your sales tax and what it's done. You can see in 2020 during COVID, it took quite a dip on you, and that's how economists can fall out. And sales tax, you were at approximately 46 million in 2019, and COVID hit, then you were down to around 42, 43 million. So you lost about $3 million in revenue in that 1 year. That's hard to overcome. But City of Beaumont has had a steady incline since that time. As you can see now, it's up over the $56 million mark for revenues for sales tax. And as I mentioned, it's a 5.5% increase from 2024, and we're projecting a 2% increase next year. Next slide. These are some of your departments here, and what's budgeted for each department. Up there, of course, the two biggest, police and fire. Police is your largest department. That's most of your dollars. Increases, contractual increases that budget. Things we put into it increases it. Likewise, with the fire department, it's got approximately $3 million or so increase from what we project in this year for that department. So we're looking at approximately $177 million in expenditures for the general fund this year. But if you go back to 2025 revised budget, we budgeted that at $167 million, and there was a lot of consternation about, will we come within our limits? You'll see we projected to only spend $161 million, so it's $6 million plus coming in under what we had budgeted to expend. Budget's always your best estimate until things actually happen, so it's your best estimate. So what we projected expenditures at the beginning of this year, we're projecting those expenditures to come in $6 million less. Next slide. And this is another pie chart that gives you an idea of your spending expenditure by department. Of course, police is 29%, fire is 28%. Again, this is one of Councilmember Turner's favorite pie charts. It says public safety is about 57% of our total general fund budget here. Planning and development's about 8%. That's kind of hard to see right there, but percent. But those two make up the majority of your general fund budget. Next slide. Let's get into a little bit about some new positions with this budget. We looked at some positions. We have discussions with department heads. They submit supplements to us. Supplements are new things, new programs, new ideas. And so based upon that, they rank them themselves. They rank those projects. And then we sit down and filter through all that and come up with a list of projects. So these are some of the new positions that we are proposing for this budget. Of course, the 4 crime center analysts there, 4 for the crime center in that budget, about $363,000. And then the communications department, while that position was still in their budget, it wasn't funded last year because they were trying to determine if he needed that position. So that position is being put into this budget and being funded with this budget, which will give them 4 employees. Equipment operator for water utilities, they need some more people. And then another one is facilities, a plumber. We contract all of our plumbing. So we're proposing to bring in an in-house licensed plumber into the city of Beaumont to help expedite work and get some things done. And we anticipate quite a savings in doing that. And solid waste, we're looking at adding 2 more equipment operators for that department at a cost of $135,000. Next slide. Continuing with supplementals, these are more things than people. I think we had a paralegal for the legal department, but it wasn't new dollars. So we just kind of took another position and reclassified it. Other supplementals, the Jefferson Theater has some minor work being done. SPIG, $25,000 for the Botanical Gardens master plan. We talked about that. Fitness equipment for the Sterling Pruitt Center, approximately $18,000. Then there's some other things with cameras and IT IT items. Next slide. Jefferson Theater, we have a wall. We've been trying to get this project done for a few years now. Right now, it still looks like it might get done. Some work on a wall that needs repair and the cost of around $300,000. Then there's a chiller HVAC system of approximately $700 and something thousand that needs some work over there. Then replace the generator. It's the Fire Station 5 at $60,000. Next slide. Capital Reserve Fund fleet. Now, this is a big ticket item this year. It's a big ticket item because last year we only spent approximately $400,000 in this item on some fleet replacement. So we're playing catch up this year at about $3.5 million for this group of projects that are in joint fund. Of course, fire, police. We got some Tahoes. Had a mention of Tahoes. Ambulance boxes for the EMS, a pumper truck for the fire department, $1 million vehicle. Fire trucks are very expensive for sure. And then there are some other things for other departments, mowers, tractors, etc. And the golf course is actually getting some carts. Thank you. Next slide. Budget versus estimate. I kind of touched on this a little bit. You know, general fund, we projected the expense at $167 million, and it's $6,397,000 less than was that we had planned. So this is just kind of a snapshot of what was proposed for revenues and expenditures in 2025 and where we actually think we'll end up at the end of the year. Excellent. And you have this presentation in front of you on your desk. And then fund balance estimates. This is always, this was a good topic, fund balance estimates. And this is for 2025. At the end of this year, we're anticipating a fund balance of approximately $46 million in the general fund. And it's required, we have a 20% requirement in the general fund, so that would call for $32,310,864. That will leave us in excess of required fund balance of $13,987,000. So that's actually where it's a required 20%. That will put you quite a bit over. Water fund, $9 million. Required fund balance about 9.5, and we're looking at 15. And then the same with solid waste. 2 million and 2 million. And the water fund, we do have projects planned for that excess over. You know, part of the debt payment will come out of there. We want to get to where we can pay cash for some of these projects instead of financing all of them, which saves us money too. So while that looks like a lot of excess money, there's that those dollars are built into your CIP and paying for some of your projects too. And also, it helps to keep your water rates down, water and sewer rates down. Let's see. Hotel occupancy tax is still, we're looking at about 421,000 fund balance. That's one we would like to get up. We need to work on getting our high tax increase numbers up because that's a source of revenue we can use on some of the projects we're talking about. It can be used on a conference and a hotel project. So we need to be able to put that in a position to be able to help supplement some of the things we're thinking about doing if they come to fruition. Next slide. 26 proposed budget. We're looking at $38,306,000 by the end of the year. Again, we look at that, and then it depends on how we actually spend and stuff. But that would put us $6,159,000 over required fund balance for general fund. Then $8 million for water fund and solid waste of about $2,000,001. Now, our other funds that's NA, they don't have a required fund balance. Although we have fund balances, there's no percentage required that it's 20%, 15%, or even 10%. But we do have dollars in those funds, and those funds are there for dollars that can be used for projects. Next slide. A little bit about fund balance policy. It's evolved over the years. In 22, it was just, it's not to exceed total anticipated expenses, not exceed revenues. It was amended in 25. Again, balanced budget represents total proposed expenditures, not exceeding total anticipated revenues and available reserves above the policy requirement. And 26 next year, we're looking at a balanced budget representing revenues greater than or equal to recurring expenditures in the adopted budget and available reserves above the policy requirement. So it changes. So what we're taking into effect is recurring expenses now. We can't exceed recurring expenses plus fund balance. Now, if it's a non-recurring expense, it doesn't account against it. So whatever we have to pay year to year, like personnel costs and things we know we have to pay, that's a recurring expense. And this proposed budget for 2026, we anticipated having a 23.8% general fund balance at the end of this year. Again, only 20% is required, but we anticipated being at 23.8% at the end of 26. Next slide. Water rates, water and sewer, we've heard a lot of things. You heard from Grady Reed at the last workshop where he talked about that, got feedback from some of you who were concerned about some of those rates. And it's always give that feedback because, this is something that can be flexible. It's something that you can decide how you want to structure it. So based upon that, residential water rates, we're anticipating be a 0% increase this next year. It says it varies, but that's because a 5/8 water line is what goes to residential property, and anything with that won't have an increase. Looking at 4 next year, 5/3 again. All that's flexible. As we get to it, we'll address it. But it still includes the 8% for wastewater rates increase because our wastewater system and what we're charging does not cover the cost of us operating the system. We're not even recovering our cost to operate. So we have to be able to put some things in place so it's not sustainable over a long period of time. Again, that's about all I have on this slide. Thank you. Next slide. Kind of a repeat, but kind of a summary, the total wastewater and wastewater increase will be about a 3.7% increase. So when you average it, I would have thought it would be 4.80, but they say it's 3.7 increase. So to our customers instead of with the water having 0 increase. We want to be able to meet the goals, what we want to do, be able to fund our projects, but also be able to be considerate of our citizens. Next slide. And this gives you an idea of those across the board numbers. And you can see if you look over to the right, and the top one is combined water and sewer. That comes out to average of about 3.7% increase. And at the bottom with commercial, it averages about a 4.7 for commercial customer. Next slide. And this gives you the residential bill snapshot. We looked at this one. I think when Grady showed it last time, we were exactly in the middle, 4 above and 4 below. Now, what we're proposing now is no increase for the 5,000 customer use there. And only Abilene, Needland, and Groves will be lower than us. Orange, Baytown, Tyler, and Port Arthur, and Waco will be higher. But to be sure, they're going through the same exercise today like we're going through. What they're trying to determine what their water rates are going to be for this year. Every city does that at this time of the year. So even what we're doing here shows this picture, but their rates are subject to change too. Next slide. And this is the commercial bill. And it puts us more squarely in the middle with 4 cities below and 4 cities above there. Next slide. Try to get through these. Water and sewer fund highlights it. I won't go through every one of these, but there's a lot of supplements. These are new things for water utilities departments. I'll highlight a few. One, the Itron meters at $500,000. That's our automated meter reading system. So it's time to put some dollars into that, some maintenance into that. So we'll be doing that. Directional flushing plan, $165,000. It helps keeps the brown water calls and things like that in abeyance. And the satellite water leak detection. The fewer leaks we have, the more efficient our water system is, and of course it becomes more, it creates more dollars for us. Next slide. And more water utilities, big ticket items. The big one is a Vector truck. We used to see around town, this big truck that goes with the big hose over the top of it that blows out sewer lines, et cetera. There's also a camera truck on here that we can camera our sewer lines where they can find out exactly where there's a problem and be able to work with it. And then there's some equipment, excavators, et cetera, in here. Next slide. And solid waste, there's a trouble with wind blowing trash out of there, so we putting in some wind fences. There are a couple of new residential side loaders. Those are the big trucks that goes to the neighborhood and empties trash. There's two of them in there at $762,000. Then some large dozer equipment at $600,000 a piece. Next slide. CIP, you've suffered through this twice, a long presentation, so I won't dare make you suffer through that again. But I'll highlight a couple of things in here because you have to accept that too. I just ask you to look at the legend, and the legend will give you an idea how these projects that are listed are paid for. Gold projects are general obligation bond, which means they would be paid if the bond election passes. Those are the ones identified from payment through the bond election. The peach color, my colors are not always great. Is that peach? Sure, what is that? It's a certificate of obligation bond. That comes through debt we would issue normally in a normal year of operation and what we would pay for that. The green is revenue bond. That's paid through revenues from water, utility bills and solid waste bills. And we take those dollars and pay for those particular projects. Blue is grant funds, and gray is just operating bond, just regular items that are put into the budget. Now, we did the bond projects because we have to account for them in our CIP. They are injected into this CIP plan now. So again, those gold, yellow items are items that would be in the bond, but they're also items that the bond doesn't pass, they won't be done, for sure. The timing will change. Some we don't get caught up so much on the years because we had to account for it and we don't have complete information on all of them yet. So we put them in and adjusted the timing as best we could at this point of the project. Again, I'll just say this total CIP is over $1 billion. This is $1 billion of infrastructure over the next 5 years for the city of Beaumont through the different categories. Whether it's downtown development, keep going. Drainage projects, street projects, that one more. And you have in your CIP a total of $221 million in street projects. That's a lot of work on city streets there. And about $273 million for water projects over the next 5 years there. And wastewater, one more slide. Wastewater is about $146 million. So all those projects we've been talking about, you've been hearing about, they are included in the CIP. And the CIP is an estimate. There's no definitive funding, identified fund. It's identified, but it's a roadmap. It's an estimate of projects you're going to do in the future. There's no guarantee you're gonna do this. This document changes. It will change during the middle of the year. It will change during the end of the year, based upon what's happening with your city. Next slide. And I'm just going to touch on this one before I start closing the tax increment reinvestment zone. I mentioned earlier about how many dollars they brought in when we thought it would be 300,000 or 400,000, and they brought in 1,000,007. It was created around December 12th, 23. There, where you take a portion of your property tax and put it into this document. You know, it doesn't create an increase in debt. It doesn't increase an increase in your tax rate. It's not a negative charge to your taxpayers, really. But you can use it and create them and then come up with a list of projects that these dollars can be used on. And we've done that, you know, and it pays for infrastructure, public improvements over a long period of time. Next slide. This is the boundary of that TIRZ. So things within that, items within that TIRZ will help create these dollars. It takes a small portion of your property tax and puts it in there for infrastructure projects. Next slide. And this is a list. When we create the TIRZ, by law, you have to come up with a proposed list of projects. And this is the list of proposed projects that were put into the TIRZ when it was created. Again, this document changes and council can change it at any time. And it has some funding in there for some different projects. The yellow one, you know, that was a joint project we were looking at doing with Drainage District 6 project. I think that might have gone away. But in any case, at this time, DD6, no other county has joined with us on this, but we're still talking with them to get them to partner on this zone because their dollars help create a bigger fund for us, and especially the county's fund too. But just a few projects that are in there, you know, some of the things that's probably that be impacted by the bond project are in there. Civic center improvement, you know, these dollars could be used. You know, if we did $1.7 million in a year, you know, if you take 1.5 and it's only going to get high increase, and theoretically you could apply that toward the payment of a convention center too, along with the other pots of money we have out there. So, you know, we're getting closer than we think and being able to do this without a tax increase or any type of large tax increase or using tax dollars, because, you know, House Bill 5012 will give us dollars for that. The TIRZ will give us dollars for that. The venue tax, if it passes, is projected to give about $1.5 million a year. And that's one other vehicle we have too that creates revenue that escapes me right now. But other projects up there, some of the streets, and some of those streets are in the bond. So this could change. They could either stay here or they could go into the bond. If the bond passes, they're safe over there, what we're doing. Of course, the transmission distribution lines for the relocation over here for the projected center, if that happened, amongst other things. Next slide. And as I come to a close, you know, yesterday we did file with the clerk, which is mandated by law, so that document's filed with the clerk. It's August the 19th is being presented to you, and your next really busy day is going to be September the 16th to get ready for. There'll be a public hearing. Today you will set the date for that public hearing. Right now we're proposing it at September the 16th to receive public comment on this budget. And you'll be asked to consider adoption of the budget on September the 16th. You'll ratify the budget, even though it's the same tax rate. If you adopt it, it'd be considered a tax increase because it will raise more dollars than the previous year. And then accept the appraised rolls. Again, the new fiscal year starts October 1. I do want to say again, think about what you set that proposed tax rate at today, because whatever you set it at, we won't be able to raise it. Again, you can lower it. So while I'm proposing this budget at 6.6559%, if you want to say 0.67 and then set it at 6.655, I'm sorry, on that day you can. But anyway, that gives you flexibility to still be able to do some things if something unforeseen comes up between now and September 16. So that's a real consideration. Next slide. Just in summary, again, this includes public safety, includes police, increase of 4% this year, total of 11% over the last couple of months for fire. COLA for the civilian employees of 3% with the compensation study being included. You have a very extensive community improvement plan here of $1 billion. I would anticipate it's probably the largest ever for the city of Beaumont. We're putting lots of money into the city fleet, whether it's police, public works, solid waste, et cetera, and public works green space. Next slide. And I'd just like some acknowledgments before I get down. While I'm the one that by charter, the city manager presents the budget, we have staff that puts this document together. And I sit with them through these steps, and they do extensive work from March to October on this document. It's a tremendous amount of work. And then the other half of finance starts on the audit after that. But I'd like to thank the department heads, because early in this budget process, there was some concern about where we would end up at the end of this year. And we continue to have those conversations with department heads to make them aware of their spending and spending habits and creating revenues and what to do. And they did an outstanding job, because they brought it in over $6.5 million under what was budgeted to be spent for the year, to make sure that we were in a great position financially. And Beaumont is in a great position financially. But they did that. But I'd like to thank Duncan Brown, Duncan's our assistant CFO. That's Duncan's official title, who headed this up. That's Duncan's first official budget for the city of Beaumont. And he's did an outstanding job of putting things together and paying attention to detail and getting things done. Then Amy Smith was his right-hand person. And I could commend Amy. Amy's the glue to the whole thing. Amy's the transition from previous finance directors, from Todd to the last one to here. And Amy's been right there on point. She's done a fantastic job. She's put this organization first, and what she's done, we really appreciate what she's done. And then June Ellis is over them as a ACM. And June has extensive budgeting experience himself. He has award-winning budgets. June worked with me in Buda. He was the CFO for 5 years with me in Buda, so he has experience. Then Chris is another link from this administration to the prior, because Chris put together a budget as interim assistant city manager. So we had a great team to get this done. It's been a great team, and the directors and city staff in getting this done. And of course, city council for what you've done and your patience with this. And I believe that's it. Okay. Any questions or comments?
Councilman Duria.
Yes, on the multipurpose facility at Alice Keith Park, you have it as a revenue bond under facilities. It's got the green.
Well,
page 34.
Yeah, find that one. Where? It's a different page?
It's page 34.
Yeah, well, it's actually showing that's actually blue. That makes, because part of it's funded through that grant, and the blue is for grant funds. Okay. And sometimes that will do both years.
Is green.
Okay, well, we'll make sure it's the correct color. Yeah, it's correct. Okay, well, council have any, if you got questions?
Councilman Hilliard?
Great job, staff, city manager, great job. I know this is quite an undertaking. And so I just have a few questions. Where are we on the Airbnb tax?
Sir, that's included in the budget.
It is?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. I have a couple more. Someone had asked me, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, we struck gas or oil out at the airport. Are we still receiving funds from that?
I don't believe so. It's been several years ago. We used those funds to construct Northwest Parkway, 7th Avenue and Washington Boulevard. And it seems like we had a little bit of funding trickling in the years following, but to my knowledge, I don't think there's anything coming in now.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Durio.
I had a couple of questions. Is any of the TIRZ money being able to be used on bond projects?
The ones that are listed on that list that was up there, they have to be identified in that project consideration to be able to use that money. The council has the ability to amend that list at any time, but any bond projects that's on that list, those dollars could be used for.
We actually don't have any expenses planned for the TIRZ at this point. So it's just revenue at this point. We'll need some expenses to allocate those revenue to.
And that'll come from, you will make recommendations to council and we'll decide?
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Okay. A couple more. Part-time employees, the raises that get, does any of that apply to part-time employees?
Part-time, thinking are still at their level.
It did not impact part-time employees, no, sir.
Okay. And,
the information I gave you was for full-time employees.
Okay. And one plumber is gonna be enough?
Well, we'll still contract out some work, but there's some small jobs or things that person can analyze for us that we think will help us save some dollars.
Do we have any plans for the future to address the pay for our part-time employees?
We'll look at it. But our goal was to address the full-time employees first.
Y'all did a great job doing that.
Because they were so far behind.
Yeah, I'm glad that we brought them up. Thank you.
Councilman Hilliard, I left you before you were done. Sorry.
That's okay, Mayor. Thank you. And I just have a couple more questions. On the water rates, I would like to get staff's feedback on doing a fixed rate for people that are over 65 that are on a fixed income. Is that something we've looked at?
We haven't looked at, we just offer them that discount. They get a discount. I don't know what age that kicks in. 60, 65. But that's something we could certainly look at and see what the impact will be.
Okay.
I get it this year.
Cool. That's it. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Turner?
Just a few things to point out. Mr. Manager, I just want to really thank staff and thank you guys for the TIRZ, because we started talking about this back in 2022. We went to a conference and we seen other cities were doing it. And it was a lot of pushback at the time that, this is Beaumont. We got to continue doing it the way we've been doing it. And for you guys to be open to looking at doing this project and seeing it's generated $1.7 million in the first year is extraordinary. I even remember when we expanded the zone from just downtown to I-10 as well, to make sure we can capture all of that. And I'm looking forward to seeing what that would do for councils prior to me even being on council, that extra revenue for you guys to utilize. The second thing I want to kind of talk about is how the tax rate has actually decreased for the last 8 years. A lot of people come to us and say, well, the appraisal district is going up. I just want to talk about on the record that the city, we don't control the appraisal district, the city council, but we can set the tax rate, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we're responsible for that. My understanding that the taxes rates have been adjusted over the last few years to do some catch-up provisions. I can't verify that, but that's what I was told. But Yeah, we just set the rate and we don't do the assessments.
And I just want to to all our new council members, when we talk about the enterprise funds and the rates, when we don't increase them, we got to keep in mind that these are the sewer projects that won't get addressed. So on one hand, we can't say we want to address the sewer projects. On the other hand, say don't raise the rates because now you don't have the revenue to do so. You pull it out the general fund. If you do that, now when you get your bond rating, your bond score can go down. So I just want to be mindful of when we're talking to citizens. I'm open to being flexible with those rates, but I learned that when I first got on. If we don't raise these rates, you cannot address these projects that the citizens are actually complaining about. And we actually did a study to show, because councils, it was more political to say we didn't raise the rates, but the sewer infrastructure was being left behind because we wouldn't make those tough decisions. So I just want to kind of put that on the record. We got to be careful and delicate how we deal with that, because these funds of money have to be utilized for certain projects. And the last thing I just kind of wanted to point out is our license and permits, it decreased the most out of everything. The funding, the revenue that came in, and I think it kind of can attest to a decision we made as a council, which I support because I was a part of it. But I want us to also keep in mind when we talk about dropping rates and we're cutting revenue, it got to come from somewhere. So I just want to put that on the record as well. We got to be careful as a council how we're balancing this budget.
Very good. And I want to commend you as well, but the time I've been on council, expenses has always been less than anticipated, and our revenues have always been more than anticipated. I know last year we spent quite a bit of time talking about that, about deficit spending, but in fact, we're not doing deficit spending. And the county's budget and the state budget fall in that same way. You tend to anticipate. And also the monthly financials that are provided to council that I know are followed by the directors and by the administration in terms of if something occurs, because sometimes people say, well, what if? Well, that you can pivot. You know, just like in a business, you know, I was talking to the enterprise yesterday about how budgets are similar to household budgets. You've got X amount of dollars and you can have unexpected expenses, but you can pivot and do what's necessary. And the city's done well doing that. So I just applaud the administration and all our directors for staying on top of that and managing and continuing our reserves. Councilwoman Sherwood.
I would be interested to know what your thoughts on us increasing the tax rate a little bit, a few cents. Do you have any recommendations just so that we can have some flexibility in there in case we need it, right?
Okay. Well, longevity as a city manager means you keep the tax rate down for the, that's what we put the budget together to 6.655 number, which is the existing number for sure. And that's what we have it at. Now, putting it a little, it's always good to go a little above on that when you set it, you know, then you can pull it back down when you adopt it. Because again, things come up, things happen, you know, do you want to increase, do you want a larger fund balance? You can put those dollars into that, and you don't have these opportunities to do that every year. This is one of those years you have an opportunity to do that. Because next year, it might, the no new revenue rate or the vote approval rate could be lower than this existing rate, the rate we're setting today. So it depends. So it's a good idea to look at doing something today, but you know you can always adjust it to what the budget's proposed at later.
Well, I did hear you say we can always lower it. In my mind, I just want to make sure that we're creating space for opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, and you can go as high as 69 cents. I don't know what the decimal number is.
691065.
Yeah, and not have to worry about a rollback election. You know, somewhere at 6, 7 might be good just to give you some abilities to make some decisions later and then set it wherever you want it to have. I hope I answered your questions. Thank you. Okay.
Councilman Crenshaw, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mr. City Manager, these numbers look great and job well done to staff. I'll comment on that. Because I get this question a lot, I do have to ask, what is the status of a CFO for Beaumont?
Okay, we can answer that. We'll be making a decision soon. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll be making decisions soon.
So we do intend to fill the position of a CFO?
Yes, absolutely.
We're not going to continue to operate the city without a CFO?
No.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we felt good about our department. We have assistant CFO there. We have CPAs there, and Bridget Evick. We have June, who's been a finance director. So we felt confident getting through this process there, but we'll be doing that soon. I'll say real soon.
Great, and Mr. Duncan does a great job, and other people involved in the budgeting do great jobs, but I think to have confidence with the public, it's best to fill that position. So thank you for that, and
I agree.
Again, job well done. Thank you.
Councilman Williams?
Yeah, I'll echo everybody. Great job. It looks, you can tell y'all put a lot of time and effort and followed the lead of some of the things we shared. I just had a question about the water fund. Whenever that rate specialist spoke with us, he spoke about having a higher amount. I mean, it looks like we have, I mean, are we sitting at a higher percentage than what he thought we would be, or?
Put that slide back up. And I don't have access to that number he had before. Duncan, you might have that information, or June, or what it was before. What Grady presented versus what we're saying today. Is that what you're saying, Councilman?
Yeah, well, I feel like he recommended that it be at 20 or 25% and.
Increase.
No. Well, the balance of the fund balance level of the.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. And we are, part of what we're doing today is getting us toward that. And it was on one of the slides, and I guess I skipped over it. It was, if we follow this plan that's here, we think we might be at that 25% by the end of this budget year.
Okay.
And I want to, the last 2 years, the council had begun raising rates because of the fact we have been operating, we were deficit spending in those areas, spending fund balance. And as you pointed out, it wasn't sustainable, but prior councils decided to forego rate increases. But the problem is, you don't have the capital you need to make the repairs that are necessary on our system. And we've been making great strides. And I know, certainly appreciate that, and so do the residents, because the number of calls has greatly decreased.
Let me say thank you, council. Thank you, Mayor. If any of council, if you have any more questions after today, feel free to email me, text me, set up a time to sit down and talk about it. I'll be glad to. Thank you.
Thank you. And at this point, can we have a motion for item number 1 as presented?
Second.
There is a motion and a second. We've had quite a bit of discussion, but there is an opportunity to discuss again if anybody has any discussion. All right, I believe Councilman Turner will return, but with this, all those in favor would signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, would you read item 2, please?
Council to consider establishing and taking a record vote on the proposed 2025 tax rate and schedule a public hearing. And we recommend a public hearing be held on September 16, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. in council chambers. And I believe this is a record vote, isn't it, Tina?
Yes.
So we're gonna need council member.
Right, we'll wait for him to return, but we can begin with discussion. If anybody would like to lead discussion. I know from my perspective, I appreciate the measures that you've gone to in this. And I know as a council, nobody's ever asking us to spend less money in any area. They're only, requesting more in terms of, and sometimes that can be, over the last 2 years, we've added several ordinances that require additional time and resources from these different departments. And we hadn't increased the departments to meet that, but they have met the need. And I think we, if we have other things that we would like to look at, this is the time, because again, we won't be setting it today. We're just discussing. We've got to approve a proposal that can be lowered, but it cannot be raised. All right, no other discussion? All right, with that, all those this is a record vote?
Yes, sir.
So if you'd proceed.
You need a motion, Mayor?
I thought we did do a motion,
I thought we
didn't
did the record vote.
Oh, no, we didn't.
No, we didn't do a motion.
Oh,
And you need to establish what that number is.
Yeah, so the motion will need to establish what the rate will be, and then you'll need to.
I got you. And Councilman Turner has a question.
So with the new definition that we changed the definition to, our expenditures not exceeding our revenues, with us losing funding, do you project us possibly at risk? When I say losing funding, we gain funding in a lot of places, but I'm talking about specifically with licensing and permitting. Does that still put us in a safe place, or do you think that change in revenue, that decrease would put us at risk, or you think we'll be okay?
Well, we've accounted for that number in this document, in this budget, so, we've adjusted for it, we know it's not money we're gonna get, so we had to adjust for it. But, council always, again, you can go above that number we propose to you just to make council feel better about it, but we're accounting for it.
Well, my reason for asking is, like Mayor said earlier, it was a hot topic on spending during the budget about a few months ago. So I just want to make sure if we're changing things, we're being realistic with the expectation that we're putting on staff. So if you guys are comfortable, I'm okay with that, but I want to make sure if as a council, if we're changing things, we can't change things and expect y'all to magically be able to function if we decrease in revenue.
I'm glad you realize that. So, it's hard to me to say. We've accounted for it. Wherever you want to set it, feel good. I don't know, and staff want to add any comments, feel free.
Yes.
So just to be, the rate that you're proposing isn't raising it, and all the work you've done in here, you're comfortable with that?
We can make this budget is based upon that 0.69, what is that number? 0.659663 number. So I feel comfortable that works. Now, if I do have a reservation, is having appropriate fund balance. While we show all the excess dollars, there's some considerations if we don't get some refunding from Hurricane Harvey and what's the other one? Or that we would have to make a accounting adjustment on those numbers for sure. But even at that, we would still be above required fund balance. But it does give the city more of a cushion if you decided to take some of those dollars and add them to your fund balance.
And Ms. Ingman, Public Works, were you wanting to say something?
I was just going to reiterate what city manager was saying. It's been budgeted, and we're pretty confident in what we reported.
Thank you. Councilman Hilliard?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Okay, if you'd turn your mic on, please, sir.
I make a motion that we keep the existing tax rate of 0.659663 per $100 evaluation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that? All those in favor of approving item number 2 here as read, please say, we're doing a record vote at this time. Just always have to say it.
Mayor West,
Yes, I vote for.
Mayor Pro Tem Turner,
Yes.
Councilmember Dorio,
Yes.
Councilmember Hilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Councilmember Sherwood, and Councilmember Crenshaw.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And the public hearings for September 16th. Okay.
All right, with that, Mr. City Manager, would you take us into item number 3?
Council to consider a resolution receiving the proposed 2026 capital program and scheduling a public hearing, which would also be on September the 16th, 2025 at 1:30.
Mayor, the motion will need to include the recommendation of the public hearing.
For the last motion.
The manager snuck it in, so it's okay.
Okay.
At least I got one on you.
So is there a motion for item number 3?
Move to approve.
Hilliard.
Yeah, you need to turn your mic on, so that's all right. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving item number 3, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 4?
Thank you, Mayor. Council authorizing the Turtle Park Nature and Visitor Center, part of the Beaumont Convention and Visitors Bureau, to apply and accept funding from the Jefferson County Tourism Commission, JCTC, for $4,000 for partial payment of wayfinding interpretive signage for the Rotary Pollinator Gardens located at the Turtle Park Nature and Visitor Center. And it comes with the recommendation of approval.
So move to approve.
Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 4. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving item number 4, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 5?
Consider authorizing the Beaumont Convention and Visitors Bureau to apply for grant monies from the Jefferson County Tourism Commission in the amount of $13,210 for a split advertisement billboard in Mount Bellevue, Texas with the Beaumont CVB, and it comes with the recommendation of approval.
Is there a motion for item number 5?
So move to approve. Second.
There is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving item number 5, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 6, please?
Consider authorizing the Beaumont Convention and Visitors Bureau to apply and accept funding from the Jefferson County Tourism Commission for $12,522.50 to host the awards luncheon for Texas Travel Alliance Annual 2026 Conference and promote Beaumont as the host city for the year 2027. It comes with the recommendation of approval.
Is there a motion for item number 6?
Move to approve.
Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 6. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving item number 6, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 7?
Council, consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an interlocal agreement with Jefferson County Drainage District Number 6, which is DD6, for the Howell Street and Sioux Lane Drainage Improvements Project, and it comes with the recommendation of approval of the resolution.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 7. Is there any discussion? Councilman Turner.
Can staff just kind of explain how this works? I see DD6 initially do the project and we're refunding them 100%. Am I kind of reading it correct?
So this interlocal agreement with DD6 is for the Howell and Sue and Wade project, Wade Street project. The interlocal agreement does reimburse DD6 for 100% of their costs in an amount not to exceed $100,000. The costs for the project are going to be a little bit north of $200,000. DD6 has been very committed to the completion of this project and assisting us with these costs and the construction. And so this is our portion to purchase the storm sewer materials, the backfill materials, and the road base to restore the site once DD6 has installed those drainage lines.
I just want to commend you on some of these partnerships. I think often we don't kind of work, proactively between the county, DD6, and other entities, but this is a good thing moving forward, especially TxDOT as well. I'd like to see more of this.
Thank you. DD6 has really worked, has done quite a bit on this project to assist this neighborhood, and we're happy to be able to partner with them on completion, getting it done.
Thank you. Councilman Hill, were you finished, Councilman?
Yes, sir.
All right. Councilman Hilliard?
I also want to second that I'm very commendable because when it rains, I get a lot of calls from that area.
Yes, sir.
And so I'm very excited. I know the constituents or customers there are also going to be very excited.
It will help this this area that has seen issues in the past. It doesn't alleviate the entire neighborhood, but we are committed to continuing to identify opportunities to address that as well.
And I think this is a great step forward. I think the drainage that y'all put in and then this tying into that will be a big welcome to the people of that neighborhood.
Thank you.
If there's no more discussion, all those in favor of approving item number 7, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Manager, may we have the reading of item number 8?
Council consider resolution authorizing the city manager to execute change order number 1, accept maintenance and authorize final payment to CZ Construction, LLC of Houston, for the Seal Road sanitary sewer pipe bursting project, and it comes to the recommendation of approval.
Is there a motion for item number 8?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second for item number 8. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving item number 8, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 9?
Council consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute change order number 1 to the contract with MK Contractors for the concrete pavement repair citywide Phase 3 project, and that comes with the recommendation of approval.
Is there a motion for item number 9?
Move to approve.
And there is a second, Councilman Williams. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving item number 9, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 10?
Council consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute change order number 1 to the contract with CTEX Construction Corporation of Beaumont, Texas for the Highway 124 12-inch water main replacement from Phelps Road to Downs Road, and it comes with the recommendation of approval of the resolution.
Is there a motion for item number 10?
So move to approve.
Second.
Did you get the second? Okay. Is there any discussion on item 10? All those in favor of approving item number 10, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 11?
Consider a rezoning of a property from RS, which is residential single-family dwelling, and AR, agricultural residential districts, to a PUD, which is a planned unit development district, for 112 acres, more or less, located north and east of 7220 Helbig Road. And it comes with the recommendation of approval, and it's going to require a supermajority vote, if I'm not.
Which is 6 of the 7. All right, is there a motion for item number 11?
So moves to approve. Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval on item number 11. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving item number 11, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, would you please take us into the work session?
Council to review and discuss the proposed ordinance, Chapter 14, Article 3, Division 5, obstruction of roadways, alleys, or rights-of-way.
Our Public Works Director. Oh, no? Yes.
Good afternoon. So today we will be discussing the addition of a division to our proposed ordinance, Chapter 14, Article 3, obstruction of roadways, alleys, or rights-of-way. So Chapter 14 of our Code of Ordinances is related to our public ways and places, and it speaks to our airports and aviation, streets and sidewalks, parks and recreation, event services, our libraries, and our park facility structure and feature naming policy. And so today we are focusing on the streets and sidewalks aspect of Chapter 14. So to give you a quick background, Division 4, so our rights-of-way management for Article 3, speaks to the placement of structures and facilities, doing any construction, excavation, or encroachments into our city's rights-of-way. And that would include any city streets, any public alleys. And so we are primarily focused on, currently as it's written, it's focused on the utility construction aspect and utility permitting. And it does not do a good job of speaking to the prevention or enforcement of obstructions in these public rights-of-way, which is creating challenges in maintaining safe and accessible spaces. So on the next slide, what we are proposing by including Division 5 into Article 3 of Chapter 14 of our proposed ordinance is addressing those particular things, addressing these obstructions that are materials that block and restrict the use of the entire width of these roadways, alleys, and sidewalks. It is intended to protect the public's safety and motorists by ensuring that our roadways and rights-of-way remain clear and unobstructed. And if there are improvements, that they are constructed to meet the necessary state, federal, or local regulations. We're trying to also prevent any obstructions that create a hazardous condition, whether by limiting visibility, endangering pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers. Currently, our enforcement process is we do the best we can. So this gives us a better framework to address the concerns. So the next slide includes examples of right-of-way obstructions that Public Works, Code Enforcement, Community Development have addressed within the last 30 to 60 days easily. This was just a top of our mind list of ongoing issues that we've been dealing with recently. So that can include equipment and objects basketball goals. That really is something that comes forward as soon as school lets out for the summer. These portable basketball goals go into the street, and I understand you want to play ball, but we need to do that in a safe location. Dumpsters in the alleyways. There are public alleys in the city, and the placement of these dumpsters, although it may be convenient for the neighboring business, it is an obstruction of a public right-of-way. The parking of construction equipment in the public right-of-way, piles of dirt or piles of building materials. Also, the understanding what the proper building materials are for the construction of infrastructure in our right-of-way. Those are just day-to-day things that we address. The unpermitted work, driveways and culverts. You can get, a driveway gets put in without a culvert in the ditch. That's always interesting conversation. Or the culvert is off grade or it is out of line. It was installed without a permit. Trenches or excavations in the city's right-of-way for irrigation. Maybe someone is trying to drain their backyard or they're tying in utilities. These trenches can create a pedestrian hazard, a tripping hazard. Fences, a citizen is fencing their side property line and they've extended it too far out and now it's going into the city's right-of-way. That can create a visual hazard for someone who may be close to an intersection and you can't see who's coming, or you're backing out of that driveway and you're losing that line of sight because these fences are in the city's right-of-way. Landscaping and or hardscaping, the planting of trees, shrubs, landscape structures, can block visibility or block drainage or encourage traffic to think that there is a road that continues there when in fact it does not. Those are all challenges that we've dealt with recently. Again, limiting pedestrian access, limiting mobility, reducing driver visibility, and reducing the driver's safety. So our next slide will cover what is proposed in Division 5 as the enforcement process. Of course, the first step is identify, the first step 0, identify that there is a concern. These concerns are not actively searched for by city staff. Most of these issues are concerns that are brought to city staff's attention. So is there a problem? We go out and we investigate step 1, because there is an issue, there is a violation. The code enforcement officer will issue and post a written notice of violation when an obstruction is found. The notice will have a date on it. Step 2 requires that the violation be removed within 10 days of the date of the notice of violation. If this violation is not corrected within the 10 days, the city may remove the obstruction and assess those costs of the removal to the violator, or the code enforcement officer may issue a citation or summons. So we're not actively trying to become the nanny state, but when there are risks in the city's rights of way, the city must be able to have a path in order to enforce the removal of these concerns. And the last slide, the staff's recommendation is we recommend adopting this proposed addition to Chapter 14 of the city's ordinances to strengthen our ability to regulate and enforce rights of way use, provide a clear authority and more effective tools in order to address these obstructions, and establish specific provisions and enforcement mechanisms, because our ultimate goal at the end of the day is to support the public safety, ensure accessibility for all of our citizens, and preserve the intended function of these public spaces. So I'll entertain any questions that you may have. And if I can't answer them, I'm going to defer to my legal counsel.
Councilman Hilliard, then Councilman Crenshaw.
So, like trailers and things like that people park in front of their house. I've gotten some calls. There was a place on North Circuit that they had a trailer there. Now, what about people parking their own personal cars in front of their homes? How would that fall into the mix?
So if they're within their driveway, typically that's on private property, so it's not always perfect, but you know, the apron that goes from the driveway to the road, normally that is the right of way, so you wouldn't be able to park in that area. As far as parking in like unpaved surfaces or grass areas, we have two overlay districts. One's the Oaks Historic District, the other is the Neighborhood Overlay Design District, and it's prohibited to park in grassed areas or unpaved surfaces. We don't have something like that citywide though in place, and this wouldn't cover that citywide.
Yeah, and this particular ordinance really isn't intended to address like movable objects. Most of the time people who park on the street, they're gone, you know, for work or school the next day. We do have a junk motor vehicle ordinance, so vehicles who haven't moved in an extended period of time will probably be more likely to be impacted by this. This really is intended to address people who build illegally that overlay into our utility easements. The basketball goal is a big thing. I can't tell you how many claims we get because a garbage truck hit a basketball goal that, you know, isn't pressed up against a curb. It's typically a little further into the curb. And so sometimes you'll have complaints from neighbors saying that, you know, they can't get around them or it's disruptive, but more likely we get a call that a garbage truck hit their basketball goal and they want the city to pay for it. And the first question is, well, where exactly was your basketball goal, right? So this will also help to reduce the city's claims, which in turn reduces your insurance liability as well.
And Assistant City Manager Boone?
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think this proposed ordinance wording has an exception for things that are permitted by ordinance otherwise. And I believe you're allowed to park your vehicle on the street. For example, I think it's 72 hours before you have to move it. So that would be permitted, again, as long as it's passable and moved in appropriate time period.
Yeah, so it won't impact that unless, again, it's a immovable object.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it? Councilman Hilliard, Councilman Crenshaw.
Let's say someone has a fence that's on the city's right of way, but it's been there for 20 years. Is there any grandfather clause or anything here? What I'm nervous about is a code enforcement officer doing their job, but maybe, a little overzealous, decides to target a homeowner with a fence. And it then becomes the councilman's job to mediate this type of a dispute, and I'm trying to avoid that type of stuff. So is this going to be just things that we receive complaints about, or our code enforcement officer is going to be able to go out and actively look for issues?
Pick me.
I will definitely toss this one to Sheree.
So I love this question, one, because this is what I wrote my law school paper on, and two, it's just, I love property law. But anyway, your first question, there's no such thing, you can't adversely possess property owned by a government entity. So it could have been there for 100,000 years. It's still our property and we want it back. Yeah. The second part to that is like code enforcement is a complaint-driven department. So they really, most of the time, the fence is gonna probably be in the backyard or something that's not visible for them to see. So it's not really a big thing and they're not out measuring property line to determine. The fence issue most likely comes up when we need to get to our easement or we need to access that property and we're like, hey, you built on our side. And so in those regards, and what we've done, routinely is give them an opportunity to remove it so that they can remove it in a way not to do the least amount of damage to the property. Or if we have to remove it, we remove it doing the least amount of damage, but we don't put it back.
Okay, so the recourse would be they're going to get a citation and go to municipal court, and the council wouldn't have any ability to try to.
So not necessarily. So the citation part really, again, isn't really the whole point of having a citation is that in order for you to have a ordinance that's enforceable, has teeth, you have to have a consequence to it, right? Otherwise, it's nothing, and people ignore it. That's kind of what we have right now. That we send a letter saying, hey, you have to kind of do this. And people are like, yeah, no, I don't. And they get very upset when we need to do the work and we go out and we remove the property. So having something that allows for them to kind of have a proceeding due process, if you will, does in fact protect the city and in council in that regard, because it's just not one person saying it's in our right of way. It goes to someone who reviews it to say, yeah, it is in the right of way, and now you have to pay a fine for it. But it's really intended, like when this happens all the time, we have people said, you know, you built your fence or your pool slightly extends, and people are like, hey, I didn't know, and they, you know, we do our part and they fix it to do their part to where it doesn't need to do that. There are sometimes people go to get variances because, you know, it's a situation where it can't be helped. It's close to our, it's slightly over our, in our easement or slightly in our public right of way, but it doesn't impact our ability to get to our line. So there's a process for them to go and get a variance, Board of Adjustment.
Board of Adjustment. There is also instances like where one that recently came up was over off of West Lucas, where they needed additional property to install a driveway for a drive-through and also a fence. And so there's a abandonment application process you can do through Planning Commission. That's not by any means to say that we want to go out and tag every fence and require them to get an abandonment. That is not what I'm saying. But there is something where if it's been there forever, the city identifies that we cannot, or we don't need it to be removed, then there is an abandonment process that they could to acquire that land.
Yeah, and in those cases, there's no utility easements, or the placement of the item near the easement doesn't impact our ability to do work.
Okay, and that, the variance, I think, was really what I was looking at. So this isn't a circumstance where code enforcement finds a violation and the only recourse is the person has to go to municipal court. There's an opportunity here to get a variance if a fence has been on the city easement for 30 years and has never bothered anyone. I'm just trying to make sure our new ordinance doesn't create this brand new issue where code enforcement's gonna go out there and take actions against this person. This person has zero recourse. And they can go to the city and try to get a variance, right?
Yeah, so if the fence is there and it doesn't impact anything, chances are they never know about it. Typically, we discover violations like the fences and the pools when we need to do the work.
Okay, yeah.
So if the fence is there and it's not near easement, we would never know.
Okay.
Variance is for private property, license to encroach is for a public right of way.
Right.
Or abandonment if they want that property.
Correct.
Councilman Turner, then Councilman Durio.
Madam Attorney, stop me if this isn't the time to talk about this.
Stop.
Okay, well, I'm gonna ask anyways. So I know at one point, and it kind of goes along with this, you know, these pods, you know, I see people have pods in their front yard, and I get a lot of citizens who call me with complaints that they have these pods there like for long periods of time. I understand businesses, but I'm talking about residents, people who have these in their front yard. Will this impact that?
So no, this is really geared towards our public right-of-ways and in those areas. So most of the time, they're at the very top of their driveway or they're in their yard. In some cases, there is some, like the overlay districts that Director Eamon mentioned, they would have different rules and regulations for them. But in the neighborhoods that don't have that, there's some other possible storage rules that would apply. Boom.
We do have a separate pod section of the zoning ordinance which does put a time limit on the pod.
Okay. But is it just for residential or is it commercial too?
I think it's for both, yeah, for both. And again, it's usually complaint driven, so usually those are the complaints we get.
Understood.
Thank you, Councilman Durio.
Kind of on what AJ was saying, does code enforcement actively patrol and look for these type of violations? Or if somebody complains, you go out there, or if you just happen to pass by and see it, you'll write up a violation?
9 times. So currently we have 5 code officers for the city of Beaumont. So 9 times out of 10, it is pretty complaint-based driven. That's why I harp on, you know, report it to 311 so we can get it in the system and get an inspection done, or email me directly and I will route it, I promise you. So that's really, it really is complaint-based most of the time. A lot of times I'll alert my staff too whenever I'm riding around and I see something, but a lot of times it's complaint-based.
And the same for our construction projects, like our inspectors will find an obstruction that comes up, you know, and that is going to limit the course of us to be able to do our work. Then our inspectors will coordinate with code enforcement to work through that process.
But we also have employees, like our street sweepers are calling me like, hey, we couldn't get down the street because there were basketball goals and we didn't want to hit it, or, we didn't.
Trucks.
Garbage trucks. We weren't able to maneuver down the street because there was obstruction in the way. And so our employees would say, hey, like we couldn't get to certain areas. So it's not necessarily like, it's self-reporting in a way as well.
Okay. Does this include, like in my ward, a few times folks build a fence like right at the corner to where you can't see oncoming traffic, or they'll have shrubbery. It's always like on one spot at the corner of 12th and Washington Boulevard. If you're coming down 12th, I guess that's west toward Washington. When you get that stop sign, it's a lot of woods there. It's right across from the fire station. You have to pull out to see. Does that include, is that what this is to handle those type of situations?
That would be something we would definitely want to investigate, because I've wondered about that location as well, is how far is that wooded area extending into the city's right of way? I don't know so much that it was planted or placed there so much as it's never been cleared all the way back to the right of way. But we'll take a look at it.
Okay. And Madam,
Just wanted to follow up real quick on your request there. There is a separate ordinance that addresses line of sight issues for corners. So whether it's a fence or overgrown vegetation, that can be handled under a separate ordinance.
We have a lot of overlapping ordinances.
okay. And Mr. Attorney, you brought up garbage trucks. If a garbage truck, one of our garbage trucks is going down the street and hit a line and pulls it out from somebody's house, is it the responsibility of us or the people that own the line?
To report or repair?
Either.
Don't do that. No. We'll talk offline.
Okay. That's all I have.
Any other questions? Okay, if we'll move into, if you'll read item number 12, Mr. City Manager.
Council consider adopting a new ordinance, obstruction of roadways, alleys, or rights of way to section 14.03.218 through section 14.03.223 of the Public Ways and Public Places Ordinance. And that's a recommendation of approval.
Is there a motion for item number 12?
Move to approve.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 12. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving item number 12, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. And we have nothing else. That's it. All right. At this point, we'll go to councilman comments. And I believe last week I started with Councilman Crenshaw. Councilman Durio.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. Once again, I want to say a good job to staff for this budget presentation. It was very informative, and we have a balanced budget proposed, and that's very important. Also, we've been getting quite a few emails about the homeless problem over there at the 1000 block of Calder, and as far as trespassing on those businesses. I mean, we're getting, I guess everybody's getting 4 or 5 of them every day. So we need to really look into that and see what we could do for those business owners over there. Also, they're back, homeless folks are at the corner of I-10 and College. I just got an email as we were sitting in here about that, addressing that. I got, I guess, is PD still here? I guess they left.
Just walked out.
Got a lot of phone calls about the traffic at Beaumont Head Start. I guess it was the first day of school. You know, those pre-Ks, it's their first day of school. The parents wanted to drop them off and take pictures, but they changed the traffic. So some folks on Winfrey Street back behind the school are having their driveways blocked by the folks that's going to drop the kids off. So I think PD is already addressing that, but I just wanted to bring that out. And one other thing over there in the Pear Orchard, and I know this doesn't really, nothing we can do, but I feel sometimes even if it's not something that the city is doing, if they come to us, then to the council people, then we need to find a way to address it. And folks are not getting their mail over there, and they say it's been at least a couple of weeks, and they don't have anybody at the post office over there on Avenue A as well. I know Councilman Turner and I have been in touch with the postmaster, and I'm gonna talk to her again today because it's a lot of our seniors that live over there. They don't pay their bills online; they pay them through the mail. They receive medicine through the mail, and the postmaster saying the problem is they're just very short-handed, and it's a hard time hiring people. And I'm just saying, if you're looking for a job, or if you're looking for a career, the post office is hiring, and they start you off well, and you could stay there till you retire, you know. And they even and this, you might not think this is important, but I know it's important. When you retire, they pay for all your medical insurance, and that's very important because the city doesn't do that for me. But that's all I want to say. Thank you, Mayor.
And Councilman Durio,
Pay for my medical insurance.
Councilman Hilliard.
No.
Ours is 1,400.
I basically just, I'm gonna sound like Chris, our Councilman Dario, but again, thank you, staff, for the hard work and the long hours that y'all put into putting this thing together, and I commend you on coming up with a balanced budget. And I also want to address the homeless problem. I'm getting a lot of calls of it going on, and I think it's something that we definitely need to address very soon. It's not just the trespassing, but, you know, the defecation in front of businesses on windows. And so I believe that it's something that we definitely need to address. I know that Councilman Crenshaw brought it up many times during the campaign, and I would like to see us focus our energies on trying to find a solution to it. But other than that, I'm good.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Turner?
Mr. Manager, staff, like kind of how we have TxDOT come by and give an update, I'm requesting that we get the railroad to come by where we can kind of have some dialogue and get some updates. I know particularly Lucas and Hilby, we've been waiting for the crossings, and it's been over 2 years. So at some point, I want them to be able to come in front of council. We can have some dialogue, even with the ditches and the horns. Like, we just need to have a conversation. So if we can get them, we would highly appreciate it. I know I only speak for myself, but I'm pretty sure other council members will support that.
I second it. Come on, I need help.
And the next thing is, we can check on our concrete over there by Finette that Miss Addie Allen brought up. Maybe we can get somebody to ride by there and just check on the status of it. The next thing was Sally Curtis. Maybe even if we don't have another council meeting next week, I'm requesting that staff maybe update all council members by email about the status of what we plan to do so we can communicate with citizens. A lot of parents have been calling me in that area about that as well. The homeless problem, one of the toughest things that we don't want to kind of address is most of these things cost money to address. And I know we did the no camping ordinance, but maybe we may need to revisit a homeless workshop or something on the future agenda item to see if this council may have an appetite to do something different, because it is pretty much a whole new council. So I'm open to see the, appetite of the current council on how we want to tackle and deal with this homeless situation. I'm in that email thread as well, and yeah, we get it almost every day. And lastly, I've been kind of breaking down to a lot of citizens the math on what the bond would do to their homes. So on our website, through marketing and communications, I would like to see some type of calculator where it is. Okay, good. Well, send me the link where I can send it to them so I quit doing the math for all these different people. All right, so send it to me if it's there so I can get that out. So I appreciate staff getting ahead of that, but yeah, I definitely want that link.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Williams?
Yeah, great job on the budget work. Thank you for operating within the current tax rate and not kind of forcing us to raise that. And then just to reiterate the Sally Curtis deal, my wife's aunt is the principal there, so I hear it direct from family. And it's just that school has a lot of kids that walk to and from school, and So just to have an answer for them, and if we can get that communicated to us to forward on to them. And then I think one of the speakers earlier talked about the road closures. I think in all things, communication is key. And so the sooner we can relay information, citizens can make arrangements. And a lot of times they think we know that these closures are going to happen, and we don't. So, if we can find out about some of those things sooner and pump it out on the city's page, and that allows us to put it out there, that would be appreciated. That's it.
Thank you, Councilman Williams. Councilwoman Sherwood.
I'd like to get behind the council on the Sally Curtis safety issue. I'm not really certain, but we need to make sure that our kids are safe. That's a really big deal. And I second what AJ said at Helbig and Lucas with getting the railroad in here to have some conversations. And I'd also like to look into, someone spoke about our codes being more strict or going beyond the state and federal codes. I'd like to see what codes do we have that actually inhibit productivity more than, if we're doing more than what is recommended by the state and federal, I'd like to know what that is and why. Outside of that, great job on the budget. It's a great day in Beaumont. I'm super excited about all the work that's been done. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Crenshaw.
I was not planning on talking about the homeless situation today, but because it's been brought up by others, I feel like I have to. Number one, there's no easy solution with the homeless situation. And we cannot continue to ignore what is going on over there on Calder Street. I believe those organizations providing services for the homeless had great intentions of all locating where they did over there. But the consequences of putting all of the services in one area of town in the middle of businesses and residences has destroyed that Calder neighborhood. And we are watching businesses close and leave. We're watching people move out of their homes and not being able to sell them. I've done 3 or 4 ride-alongs with the Beaumont Police Department since I've been sworn in on council. And every night we drive through that area over there where the homeless are, and it's almost like something out of a movie. People do not realize it because they don't go over there late at night, but there are people laying on the streets, on the sidewalks, in yards, strung out on drugs or sleeping or drunk or whatever the circumstances may be. It's awful. What I would like for staff to do is look at where we could relocate these services to within the city in an industrial area away from residences and small businesses. I'm not trying to be heartless and say we do not need to provide for the homeless. We absolutely do, and I'm grateful for these organizations that do provide for the homeless. But we have got to get some relief for that neighborhood over there that has been absolutely destroyed by what's going on. And if we do not address it, I feel it's only going to get worse. So, Mr. City Manager, I would please ask that staff try to identify some areas. Long before I got on council, there was some talk maybe about over off of MLK near Cardinal Drive, that that's an industrially zoned area over there, and there's really no businesses around there that would be significantly impacted by that, because the businesses that are there are, large industrial operations. But anyway, we've got to do something, and until we're willing to acknowledge that and look at solutions on relocating those service providers over there on Calder, the situation on Calder is never going to improve. There's no money we could spend to help people, and buying them bus tickets to another city isn't a good or Christian option, but we need to provide those services somewhere outside of that neighborhood. Now, what I intended to talk about today was the Harmony traffic on Calder, next to Calder Place neighborhood. Before I got on council, there was apparently a meeting with the police and the city and the Harmony School to try to come up with a plan. And Harmony was supposed to do certain things, provide buses to shuttle the kids off of the school property to other locations for the parents to pick them up to help with the traffic. I do believe there's been an attempt at that, but it hasn't been great. And the traffic problems are still persisting. And we need to, I think, bring Harmony maybe a workshop, invite them back before the council. I heard the other day maybe there is a plan to bring Harmony back before the council in October or maybe late September. But it's a real issue. They're blocking other businesses. Cars can't get into businesses on Calder. I can't imagine being Carmela's and having, you know, everything. And on Friday, I think they get out at noon, which is the rush hour for Friday lunch for Carmela's. So it's a bad situation over there. I appreciate Chief Oknachek having his officers out there this week doing some enforcement, but they're blocking driveways, they're blocking businesses, they're blocking residences, they're blocking entire streets. You can't even get down 23rd. People just sit in the middle of the street and don't move. So anyway, if we could please have Harmony come back and sit down and have some serious discussions, because as of right now, I think that they're not doing enough, and I think they're violating their specific use permit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Can I
Madam City Attorney.
comment, Mayor?
Sure.
Yeah, we can do that, Councilmember. We'll get them back in here. Is there an update, schedule, some things?
But I will say they've already been to Planning Commission, and Planning Commission asked it to be tabled for 180 days.
It was 3 months. They're
3
due
months.
back in October.
Yeah, so they're already scheduled to come back. I think at the time, what they asked for them to do is to implement and see what was working and come back with something definite, because they had so many different ideas that they were willing to do. They said, come back with a solid implementation and plan for that. Again, because it's Planning Commission and they only make a recommendation to council, you could just ask that they bring it back to you, and you'd have to, you know, in a public hearing format so that they could have that dialogue with you guys. But I would caution you to kind of stay within those guidelines of having those committees that you set up to kind of make a recommendation, so that when individuals don't agree, they have the ability to appeal it to council. You guys are the final authority, so kind of removing that step means the next step is automatic litigation.
And one other clarifying question, Councilmember Crenshaw, when you say relocate, you mean the services that provided in that area, try to find them a place to go?
Yes, work with some other places, Salvation Army, to move their facilities to a different area and out of that residential neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
So today I had the opportunity to attend breakfast with the superintendent, and I am excited about the things that are happening in our district. I'm excited about the things they have planned for our kids, and I'm excited to continue volunteering with BISD and be all in all year.
Thank you, ma'am. Public Works?
Good afternoon. So let's start down the list. So there was information brought to us about a issue with the pavement on North Street, just east of Interstate 10. We've identified that Streets and Drainage will go out there and make that repair. So we are getting that scheduled. Hopefully we can get that addressed sooner rather than later. I just don't have a timeline on that repair at this moment. There was an issue of a debris pile on North 7th Street, and that has been picked up. That was a combination of the city debris, and Railroad had also done some repair work. So all that has been picked up and cleaned up. So on the bridge on North Circuit, I think that there's a little bit, the bridge is open to traffic. It is not finished. So we're not done yet. We had to make every effort to get the roadway open in time for classes to start, and that has in fact taken place. Part of what needs to be done to be completed are those sidewalk repairs at the approaches, as well as the installation of the handrail that is going to be installed over the top of the concrete guardrail that is there. So I think before it had a metal beam guardrail, which has been removed and is now the solid concrete wall. It will have an additional handrail over the top of it. I believe we have been in contact quite a bit, Councilman Williams, with your family member. And what we come to understand is that they want the fences returned. That is what they want, not so much the handrail or the guardrail. The guardrail is there. The guardrail is traffic rated. It's 2 feet 8 inches tall. But what they want is the fences. And so we are working on getting those fences replaced. They were not part of the original contract because they were not a traffic-related device. They're to keep a pedestrian from either stumbling into traffic or stumbling over the side of the bridge. So those fences, we are actively working on getting those installed right away. We're having to go through our procurement and get pricing from the local vendors to get that fencing installed as expeditiously as possible. So it is still in progress. It's not finished. It is in progress. On the Lucas at Helbig, I actually do have a little bit of an update on the Lucas at Helbig Railroad crossing. That is a project that is being spearheaded by TxDOT with BNSF Railroad. And I think they kind of lost sight of it for a couple of years, and now they are refocused on getting that completed. And we were recently notified about the fact that they are ready to move forward. We have engaged a local consulting firm who also specialize in working with the railroads and getting the construction drawings put together because we'll have to have an engineered set of drawings to construct the connections of the existing sidewalk to the panels that they're going to install at the railroad itself. And our plan is to extend that sidewalk and pedestrian improvements across the railroad track, across East Lucas, to allow continuous safe access to the library and community center. So that is in motion, and we hope to, we'll have our plans done in time that by the time BNSF does their construction, we'll be ready to connect to the panels and the crossing improvements that they make there. So that was just a recent development that came up probably within the last 4 weeks, but that is actually moving forward now and is starting to gain some momentum. So I'm happy to report that. We will also be able to help the executive office to coordinate having which railroad I'm going to clarify which railroad you were interested in having come meet Councilman Turner with us to present.
The ones that never respond to you.
That narrows it down. So yes, we can, but we also did, happy to report, we had a meeting with those representatives last Friday, I believe it was. This was a meeting that took several months to coordinate but we did get to make a contact with their operations manager for this area, and he has committed to finding ways to remove the obstructions in the permitting and getting the plans reviewed and approved, not just for, primarily for the Quiet Zone project. And so that was wonderful to have a face and a point of contact. That has eluded us for years. And so these new points of contact that we have may be able to facilitate them coming to visit with us. It was nice to be able to speak with them without using that third-party intermediary of their consulting engineer. And he is able to help make those conversations more direct. And so we look forward to working with them as we continue to work through this quiet zone process, and but also to the railroad crossing on MLK near Lamar University. That's also a UP Railroad issue that we've turned into them as well.
All right, Ms. Molly, I was asking, so I know y'all just made the contact, but if we can get to speak to him, I'm gonna ask Corey. Corey's gonna miss Councilman Crenshaw. He's gonna be good.
We just got them to the table. We would need to be nice for that.
Need to get that work done.
Are you talking about Union Pacific?
Yes, sir.
And they're moving on the West End too?
They've committed to helping us find ways to navigate through their red tape to get this moving forward as expeditiously as possible.
Ms. Villarreal, how many actual railroads are we having to deal with in the city of Beaumont, different ones, as far as quiet zones, or how many of them have crossings in the city of Beaumont?
We deal with 3 different railroads: KCS, BNSF, and Union Pacific.
Okay. All right. Are any of them easy to work with?
We've, by the nature of the work that we do, we have developed relationships with the other ones. And Union Pacific, I think, has proven to be a little bit more elusive. Their process is a little bit different. They don't use the same consulting engineer that the other 2 railroads do, so it's made it much more challenging. But I am optimistic as a result of last week's meeting in the executive office that will hopefully start to change for the better.
Also, they really don't like to cut their grass either.
So
None of them.
they're Union Pacific in particular, but most of the railroads now have a website where any citizen can go and report issues. And for example, Union Pacific's website, you can report high vegetation. But we are also working with BNSF because we had a high vegetation concern on Delaware. And so just working through those and bringing that to their attention. Because of the way that they're staffed, their staff is responsible oftentimes for multi-state areas. And so it's difficult for them to focus back on us. But anytime the more citizens that report issues through their website and their phone number, definitely that really does help, because we're just one calling them. If the citizens also do report the issues, it helps amplify that concern.
Okay. Yeah, I had a citizen called with the railroad over there on Virginia and Avenue A. And they told, their exact words were, I have 32,000 miles of track to worry about cutting the grass. And the citizen said, I just need 100 feet behind my house cut. But the city went out there and they did, but I think they can only do like up to 12 feet from the on each side of the track, and then the rest of it is responsibility of the railroad.
Yes, the regulations are very specific. The penalties are severe if you get out too far out of your lane trying to work in proximity to those tracks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And I just have, so are we still going out for bid for the quiet zones in my area?
Yes, sir. We have submitted the drawings for permitting. They've committed to getting us the review of those plans. They got the first, slow down, Molly. They got the first round of comments back to us. We sent additional questions and clarifications back to them. They committed to getting the response to that to us faster, so that we don't have to wait the typical 4-week waiting period while we try to get the clarification. So they did promise to move forward with that, and they committed to helping us execute the agreement that we have to, so that we can work in their right-of-way faster as well. So they're exploring what avenues they can take through their red tape to help us get through this as quickly as we can.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Assistant City Manager Boone.
Yes, Mayor and Council. Just follow up real quickly on some of the comments because we are also copied in those emails regarding the homeless. Next week will mark the 1-year anniversary of when we increased the camping ordinance for the city, and it's since then, we've had a very sustained and pretty intense enforcement effort. But as you can tell, it's not achieving the goals that we had hoped for. So I suspect we'll be sitting down and discussing on how to look at some different options to try to address that issue. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Real quick, I know Councilwoman Sherwood asked for the differences in codes and whatnot. Largely what we're finding in our building codes is our electrical code is different. So we're working on amendments to bring that back to you guys to more so align with the state. Also, a large one that would be separate from the state is our zoning code. So that's like your specific use permits, the rezoning, those kinds of things. So that is what sets us apart from the state. For Harmony, they are due back to Planning Commission October 20th, but also we have staff meetings scheduled for tomorrow at 4 p.m. and then also on the 27th, and then I believe we're going to be doing bi-weekly from there on out in hopes that we get updates for the traffic safety and response plan that they submitted to Planning Commission.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead, Councilman.
And on that same note, I don't see Tim here anymore, but we're having a problem with the same traffic at Westbrook. It's blocking the adult living facility. Have we mitigated that? I know we were going to meet with BISD police and Beaumont police and try to set up some kind of something there to keep them from blocking their driveways while they wait for pick their kids up.
I can loop back with Chief Ochnichek for sure. I do want to highlight that Harmony is at Planning Commission because they are one of the newer schools in Beaumont. So our zoning code was adopted in 1981. So because they were established beyond then, they do require a specific use permit, which is why they're brought to Planning Commission regarding their traffic congestion. Largely because their SUP contained that they were going to have a maximum of 350 students and teachers combined, and right now I believe that they're sitting at 657 or so students. So that is why Harmony is in the limelight at Planning Commission, but we can certainly schedule meetings with other schools as well.
Thank you.
Mayor, I won't steal all of your thunder, but I just wanted to congratulate Kenneth Reggett and Parks and Green Space on winning the Parks Master Plan State Award. They had an article in the paper. Beaumont Enterprise did a wonderful job on reporting on that. And then I want to thank Duncan and Amy and the rest of the staff with finance on a great job with the budget. You guys did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Riverfront Park dedication is Thursday at 5:30 again. And change orders. When I first got here, I asked more questions about change orders than the council did because I know how change orders impact budgets and projects. So it's something we've been keeping an eye on too, and certainly don't want anything more to do. But our threshold that comes to council is a fairly low number than most cities. And that makes it seem like you get a lot of them. Because if you got a $2 million project and you're having to do a $13,000 change order, it gets to be a bit cumbersome for council. So that's one thing you can look at to do that. But Molly, when I got here, it was Bart at the time. And Bart and I went back and forth on change orders because I think if you plan things better up front, you have less change orders during the project. But they assure me they're going through the steps that they're doing, but we're continuing to look at it.
So by charter, Mayor, the change orders are $10,000 or more. State law does allow it to be $50,000, but our charter dictates that. So if council was interested in it, that would be something you need to consider during the next charter change would be to change that.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Thank you.
That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Well, again, congratulations, Parks Department on the award, and as well as our Finance Department and all the directors for working on the budget. And it's a lot of time, and certainly all the directors got to appear before the council to present their budget as well. And I think we need to schedule a workshop for the homeless situation and look at some other alternatives, because again, we didn't get the desired effect from the no camping ordinance, but it is something that clearly this the city council has been working towards getting a solution. And I was looking at other cities and saw that Austin's budget, I believe this year, is $101 million. And if anybody's been to Austin, you can see that money doesn't fix homeless problem in a city, because they still have significant problems, and that's a significant number. Also, I'd like to get on the get a calendar set in the next council meeting with to host bond workshops and bond education seminars in each of the 4 wards, as well as a community-wide one. So I believe get 5 on the books, which this is going to be a busy fall, but it is something that we need to make sure that we get bond education and that people are able to ask the questions that they desire. And I was also at the breakfast this morning for BISD, and that was enlightening, and I appreciate the Board of Trustees and Superintendent Allen. She immediately addressed it, and I think they're having a meeting again tonight to meet with parents, and it's certainly a concern for all of us. And with that, it's 4:40, and we are adjourning the meeting.